And we are live. Hello, everybody. This is Blake Cross EXE.
Happy Monday.
Hope everyone had a really good 4th of July. Hope you all got to see some nice fireworks or hang out with family or however you choose to celebrate High Treason Day. But, yeah, we're back with our media podcast here. And, oh boy, has it been an eventful weekend.
Alright, we should be good on my end. I've got people watching, so yeah, dude, like, where do we even start? Do you want to go ahead and get into it? Or are we going to get into the awful part that we don't want to talk about, but we have to?
Alright, no, I want to talk about this. Alright, so do you want to start by bagging on Sony first, or do you want to start by bagging on the shills first?
Well, so I guess for those of you listening that don't know where we're going with this, you've no doubt already heard the news. Sony announced at the end of this past week, I guess, that or sometime in the middle of this past week, that they're going to be discontinuing the production of physical PlayStation games starting in 2028. And this has been like a big discourse cycle since then. I made a main channel video about it that I uploaded, I think, Friday afternoon. And I guess I'm going to be reiterating a lot of the same points here now that I did in the video. But I have not heard your thoughts on it yet because we said we would save it for the podcast. So I guess here we go, right?
Where do I even start? Like, every single bit of the backlash is well deserved. Okay, hold up. Correction. There's one thing that I don't think is quite deserved, but it's one of those things up to where they really should have read the room and not made this announcement yet. The closing of the PS3 and PS Vita PlayStation Network stores. To be absolutely fair, they wanted to close those years ago. The PS3 is a console that is over 20 years old at this point. I threw up in my mouth a little bit from saying that. Unless I get my dates wrong. PS3 is almost 20 years old, isn't it?
About there. It's 20th every year this year.
Okay, so yeah, it's 20 years old. The online store is not even going down yet. It's in some regions later this year, and then next year in other places. But they wanted to close that one down like 3 years ago, and then postponed it due to all the backlash. If you haven't got your crap off there by now, that's on you. Like, I went ahead and jumped on there and grabbed everything that I needed to beforehand. But this is one of those to where I can't be mad because it has been a long time coming. Again, console is 20 years old at this point, and the online accessibility for, like, gameplay service has been discontinued. This is one to where they don't deserve as much hate, but it's just the fact that they announced it alongside the other thing where they just, pardon my French, absolutely shat the bed. I'm probably going to do a lot of swearing this stream because this is such a major blunder. Like, I try not to swear, I don't prefer to, but this is one where there really are no better words for it. So...
yeah, so the thing with the PS3 and Vita online stores for PSN, I'm not surprised that they announced that at the same time because my thing was like, oh, they're just trying to kind of sneak that in under the radar while announcing a much worse thing, so all the backlash goes to that far worse thing and they can kind of get away with this because as some other commentators in this space have kind of coined the phrase, it's like game companies will are we doing the thing now?
Apparently.
I have the same one.
Well, yeah, I saw you with the Megatron mace, and I was like, hey, I gotta. This is
actually. Is that Megatron? Yeah, it is Megatron.
Yeah, it's War for Cybertron. Yeah, this is one I picked up a little while back, but haven't really done like an unboxing or anything for it yet. But I like this guy.
I'm sorry. Whenever we're doing a call and I'm fidgeting with something, it is always one of their weapons. It's always one of the War for Cybertron guys' weapons.
Yeah, I mean they're great fidget with. Like like Optimus' axe here opens. If I can figure out which side it is.
But anyway, so
continue. Yeah.
One of the what I said in the video is like the phrase a lot of people have coined is like these game companies, when they want to do something that they know there will be a backlash to, they take 2 steps forward, the backlash happens, and then they take 1 step back and apologize, so that everybody who pitched a fit thinks they got what they wanted, but that company still took one step forward into a worse model than whatever they had before.
This entire... go ahead.
And just the example that I'll use is the always online DRM all the way back in 2013 with the Xbox One, where it's like, and we'll get into this as the discussion goes, but they've wanted to smother physical media in the crib all the way since back then. And people pitched a fit, and they were like, no, always online DRM is a terrible idea. Get that out of there. Massive backlash. And so they took they took 2 steps forward and 1 step back. So it's like there's not always online DRM, but there is like all kinds of other DRM on the Xbox One, and like an online account creation where you can't boot the console from factory reset in offline mode and play games on it, which basically makes it a ticking time bomb if in a world where the servers go down for that functionality. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I barely even use my Xbox One anymore because every single time I turn it on, it has to connect to the internet and do like 2 hours worth of updates. And by the time that happens, I don't care about the game I was going to play anymore. I can just go play something else. Because like I got my Steam Deck, I got my DS, I got my Switch. Like, I just have not cared about Xbox. Like, even though I bought Dead Rising for the Xbox Series X, a console that I don't even have, I just bought it because I wanted to support Dead Rising. And because I did at one point plan to get a Series X, I think that ship has sailed. Like, I've lost interest in that specific.
Yeah, and what's interesting is, like, I thought for a while that the 8th gen was just going to be like that, where all the consoles were going to require, like, lengthy updates, lengthy installs, etc., etc. But the PS4 is just not like that. Like, I know I have a PS4 Pro, which has probably faster load times, but just the way that the UI and the software and everything else runs, it is not alienating like that. A lot of games you can just pop the disc right in there and it runs. It plays it off the disc. Sometimes there is a install in the background, but like I would say more than 2/3 of the time, you can just pop the disc in there and play the game right away on the PS4.
Yep.
Or sit through a minimal install. Updates happen in the background, and so we talk about the again, the backlash to that decision with the Xbox One, but like we can kind of do a bit of a post-mortem on that now because we're in the 9th gen and what's done is done with that generation, and the sales of the Xbox One suffered for it. And I feel like the Xbox brand as a whole never recovered from that always online DRM thing, and how just the way that the Xbox One was marketed, because it was marketed as this like multi-purpose entertainment machine for normies, basically. Like, it was like, oh, you can pivot from your game to your TV with voice commands and connect everything. Oh, that was the other thing. The base model Xbox One was way too expensive because it shipped with the Kinect.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
Wasn't the Kinect built into it, the base models anyway, or is it just like it had to come with it?
So it was shipped with the Kinect peripheral boxed in with it.
Okay,
and it was like $50 to $100 more because it had that in there.
Right.
And so
I got mine secondhand, and I am 99% certain it's a first gen. And I thought someone said that the Kinect was like built into it, and one reason that I think it was my dad actually said he wasn't super gung ho about getting the Xbox One at the start was because he was afraid the Kinect would like be on constantly and like doing all this constantly recording.
The camera's not
the camera and the microphone
not built into it.
Right.
Yeah. The camera's not built into it. It was a separate little bar.
Right.
Like just like it was with 360, but. I didn't get my Xbox One until 2015. I got it in anticipation of Halo 5 coming out, and
you were massively disappointed.
Mine didn't come with the Kinect, so I had forgotten that about it. I think I got like a special deal for mine to where it was like $350. So I think that was a pretty good deal for the time. But again, like without all that aside, so to get back to the Sony thing.
We wanted to make a comparison between the backlash with Xbox and Sony. Honestly, this is worse. And I feel like it comes down to the perfect storm of things all happening at the same time. First, before they even announced no more discs, they're like, yeah, we are just gonna casually remove these digital movies from your PlayStation library that you paid for and not give you a refund on it. Then, Stop Killing Games takes an L in the courtroom. Then they announce that they are canceling physical media. And I don't know if it's a new thing or it's just someone found it in the terms of service that's been there a while, but they're just now spreading it. But Sony has said, like, you can find screenshots of this in the terms of service. If you let your account sit for 36 months and don't access it, they have the right in their contract that you sign, the terms of use, that if you don't, your account is inactive for 36 months, then they can and will close your account and remove all of the games from your library and not give you a refund. This is the dystopian future that we're all like fighting against. And it's not a, like, I see people being like, oh, if you don't log in for 36 months, you're not even a gamer anyway, you probably don't care. Do you not understand that there are situations where you may not be able to connect your system to the internet for that long? Like, people still join the military, they go off to basic training, or sometimes they get deployed somewhere. What if they're not home for 3 years? Or they don't have their PlayStation with them because it's in storage? Or what if they don't have internet at their house anymore because they can't afford it because everything is so freaking expensive? Like, did that kind of asinine just... Like,
I haven't heard about that particular thing.
Yeah, that's real. Like, give me a second to... Let me see if I can find the screenshot of it real quick.
Because I thought for sure I would have heard a lot more backlash to that.
No, like, if you've been on Twitter in the last 24 hours, whoo! Oh, here we go. This one was posted 2 days ago, apparently. Okay, in order to not mess with, everything on my end, I'm going to pause our camera for a second, and then I'm going to share it in the group, in the Discord chat, and then I'll hop back over.
Yeah.
Where is the... Okay. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead and add it here too so my audience can look at it.
Where'd you post it?
I posted in the video chat, the little text chat that's off to the side.
Okay, I see.
So yeah, that right there. Anti-consumerism at its finest.
Yeah, I'll have to look more into that. But yeah, that does seem completely wholly unnecessary, and because it's like, who cares if the account is inactive? You know,
we paid for the content.
Yeah,
we spent our money on the content.
With Steam, there were definitely times in which I would go years at a time without accessing Steam before I got the Steam Deck.
Same.
Or like your Minecraft accounts and stuff like that, I would go years at a time without accessing that. But yeah, as far as the cancellation of physical media, so I said this in the video, and it's like, I'm not surprised, because they clearly have already wanted to do this for years. At least Sony and Microsoft have, and I'm just surprised that they did all this stuff gradually. They went with the frog in the boiling pot approach, and that they like slowly worked their way to a point where they thought it was acceptable to do this. And it's through a lot of really manipulative ways, because
about to say, did you see
some of the apologetics we've been hearing is like, oh well, we did $7 billion in sales in digital last year, but we only did $1 billion in physical. And it's like, okay, well, if there weren't so many products that were only available to be purchased
Like
digitally, you would
downloadable
have a better
content or
idea. Yeah,
microtransactions or countless indie games or games that you happen to have on like PlayStation Plus that are like stupid cheap because you have the
yeah. It's
subscription
like I would
already.
love to know how they're quantifying that, because the
It's
fact that, like,
they're spinning the
if they're
narrative.
quantifying, yeah, because if they're quantifying stuff like microactions as revenue gained through digital purchases and not physical purchases, that's horseshit. Because then
Yeah, it's
you're basically
completely
saying that,
tipping the scales in the wrong direction.
well, and what I've heard as well is that there are, I think there was, it was on Reddit or something, where there was like Sony, there's like PlayStation message boards that were having posts censored, showing that there were certain titles in the
Yep.
last 3 years that sold more copies physically than digitally. But
Yeah, it
either
was.
way, they wanted to do it anyway. It's all about money. It's about cutting costs. They want to cut manufacturing costs. They want to. Um, they don't want the used media industry to exist, because every used media sale between two individuals is dollars that do not go into the pocket of those people directly. And they want to control ownership. And I know that, like, it's really funny how much the games industry loves to over exaggerate piracy when they, my brother in Christ, you built the pirate ship. Like, are we kidding right now? And it's a thing where I actually, this is gonna
Crunchyroll.
sound unrelated, but there was a really funny argument I saw on Twitter between John Romero and Sandy Peterson, who were two of the developers of
Doom.
Doom,
Yeah, because
and they don't really get along anymore. But
uh, I caught snippets of that one. It was something like, yes, people pirated Doom, but it was so easy to copy games and pass them around on floppies. Everything was shareware back then. It wasn't piracy because everyone was doing it, or something like that.
well, Doom was originally distributed via shareware.
Oh,
How you got Doom,
was through piracy.
the original DOS version was, you were able to get the shareware version, which was episode 1, downloaded from the internet for free, and then if you liked it, you could send them a check, and they would send you the other 3 episodes on floppy disk. And or maybe it's only 2 episodes. The 4th episode came later with Ultimate Doom. Anyway, and then but then you look at like Doom 95, the CD-ROM version, and how it sold like millions and millions of copies, and they still made their millions. Like John Carmack gave away a Ferrari at the first Quake tournament. So it's like, the fact that Sandy Peterson was basically just like, oh well, piracy and all that, and John Romero was like, hi Sandy, I hope you're doing well, and just proceeded to like correct him on his facts there, on his history.
Yeah.
And that kind of became a meme where it's like, John Romero is about to wish you a good day. And but yeah, so they when we talk about like controlling ownership from their standpoint, they're like, oh, piracy, blah blah blah. But it's like, piracy is such a non-issue, and like Steam solved the piracy thing years ago. And I just genuinely don't know. Well, even frankly before that, like the copy protection that like the PlayStation 2 had solved piracy even before that, because yeah, there was probably a lot of piracy in the 90s when you could just rewrite CD-ROMs. And I had a neighbor that had all like burnt copies of PlayStation 1 games, where his he would rent a PS1 game like Spyro or Mortal Kombat from Blockbuster
Movie gallery,
and
yeah.
then burn it to a disc and then return it and then keep the burnt copy to play off of. And then the PS2 era happened and basically completely solved that.
Yeah, because they started using DVDs instead of CDs, and those are a little harder.
Yeah, and there's other like built-in copy protection in the firmware of the console as well that solved that. But
yeah, if you put a pirated CD into your PlayStation 2, you get the red screen of hell.
Yeah. So they I really just feel like piracy is such a non-issue, but it's like when you negate access, you necessitate piracy. And so to the extent that piracy is a problem, it's only going to become so much worse, because there's like very little incentive to want to pay money for something that is so impermanent. And so I think that people's unwillingness to pay for physical media, especially at the overpriced price points that it's going to, is only going to increase. And so, but do I think that we can stop this from happening? No. Stop the Does It Play page has been all over a petition to get them to reverse this decision and continue to manufacture copies. But like I said, at the end of the day, it's all about money. The stuff that Xbox has been doing, like Xbox has been like losing their goddamn mind for the past several years. They've gone through like 2 CEOs in like less than a year. They just today like laid off like 4,800 people.
A lot of people think that Sony timed their announcement with this massive layoff because they knew it was coming, hoping that Xbox laying off thousands of people would make everyone forget. Oh, Sony just attempted to murder physical gaming, but
Well,
the entirety of Twitter is like, no, Xbox, you suck. Sony, you suck worse because you're trying to hide behind them.
Well, Xbox had been doing even worse things prior to that because they basically talked about like whatever the new version of Game Pass was going to be some subscription model horseshit where it was going to be like $400 a year or something like that, and you had to pay for the resolution that you wanted. So if you wanted like to actually be able to stream the game at 1080p or higher, you'd have to pay a higher rate than if you wanted the lower resolution. And if you play if you have the free version of Game Pass, then you have to watch like ads before you boot up the game, and you only get 5 hours of gameplay a month. And so,
do they hate
Xbox
money? Do they hate money? They are
apparently they
driving
love money because they're like subscription services, Netflix, bro.
This
Think
is
about
not
the money.
how it works. Like
no, it's totally how it works. Just make a subscription service, and shitify everything. Microtransactions all the way down, and just take away all of your other options, and then you'll have no choice but to do it.
We have other options.
But Google Stadia was such a success.
Oh, my brain is melting.
And that's the funniest thing about this too, is they're just like we have the abject failure of Google Stadia to look back on and be like, no, we don't want cloud streamed gaming. It's a bad idea.
And Sony had the PSP Go. No one liked the PSP Go.
Yeah, but then Xbox was just like, now we can do it better. Google just sucks, which is partially true, but
what do you mean partially?
So funny how it's so funny how incompetent. Oh, a side tangent about that. If you're not in on the joke, there is literally a website called Killed by Google, I think is what it's called, and it's every service that Google has launched over the decades that they have subsequently shut down.
I still haven't forgiven them. I still haven't forgiven them for Google Plus and just ruining YouTube back in the day.
Yeah. Yep.
I heard they just now added private messaging back, but I think it's only on the app. It's not even on the browser.
Oh, lame.
Everything needs to stop being an app. Like, they need to let us have our websites. Like, there's some websites that I'd like to check out, but they're app only. I was like, my phone doesn't have room for apps. No.
Yeah. No. There's some friends of mine have been talking about like the whole, because I have been very passionate about the subject of enshittification when it comes to the big monolithic platforms on the internet, the big social media platforms. And there's been an interest amongst my friend group about like building our own websites, like learning how to code in HTML and just making our own like web 1.0 looking ass websites.
Reject social media, bring back forums and message boards.
Yeah, or like GeoCities websites and stuff like that is kind of what we're thinking about.
Blogspot.
So there's a non-zero chance that one of my friends might actually do that because she hates the social media platforms and monoliths so much. But
I miss when Facebook used to be funny and give us memes. Now it's all AI trash, and it's the same posts over and over again.
Yeah, reject modernity of AI Jesus, embrace tradition of Pokes and Farmville.
And Buddy Christ, like the actual picture. Like I've seen people do like AI generated images of that one statue of Jesus that's like doing that. The meme is called Buddy Christ, but I'm like, why not just use the image? Why not just use the picture? It exists. Just
yeah. So the rest of my opinions on the PlayStation thing I talked about extensively in the video on my main channel. If y'all want to listen to that as background noise, but I will say a couple things just for the sake of your audience here, if they're not people that would have heard me discuss that already. So when it comes to the PS3 and Vita online stores, because I'm a huge Vita fan, Vita collector, one of them right here.
Heck yeah.
So I decided I was going to kind of shore up my digital collection on the PS3 and the Vita as soon as this announcement came out. So I was going to look and see what titles I was missing that I wanted, and I made a little wish list for myself. But what I realized is that the PS Vita online store, ever since they tried to shut it down the first time and they reversed that decision, it's been kind of decaying in quality. So there were games with basically broken links where you would purchase them and they would not download. Twisted Metal is an example of that. So Twisted Metal 1 on the PSN store for the PS3 and the Vita does not work. It will take your money, but it will not download. So do not buy Twisted Metal on PSN for those consoles. But there's also what I've realized is there's a ton of titles that just do not show up when you search them on the Vita. So one of those, funny enough, is actually Fate Extra. One of my friends is like, oh yeah, I have Fate Extra digitally downloaded on my Vita. I'm like, how the hell do you have that? It's not available when I search it. And she's like, it's literally right here, I'll prove it to you. And so I was like, it must be either they removed it or the search function's not working properly. But and then recently after this announcement, I don't think it was related to this announcement. I think it's just a coincidence because I don't think there's anybody at the wheel maintaining the online store for the Vita. I think it's maybe at best one person's job to maintain the software and make sure that nothing breaks.
And it still breaks.
So something breaks because nobody's at the wheel, right? And so the search function now for the PS Vita online store is completely borked. If you search for anything, even if you search like Final Fantasy or something like that, it comes up with 0 results. But what you can do is you can search for those titles on the PS3 PSN store and find them and buy them, and then it will show up in your download queue on the Vita.
There you go.
So, including Fate Extra, so you can actually find it that way. So if you go in the PS3 PSN store and search Fate Extra, it'll show up, you can buy it, but it shows it only as a PSP, PS Vita title.
Quick
it won't let you play it on the PS3.
Quick side question about Fate Extra. They announced that HD remaster. Do we have any more updates on that, or is that just kind of in limbo right now?
Did you not hear the latest on that?
No, I didn't, apparently. Like, last I heard about it... Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the latest on that was actually of a couple months ago. They announced that development on the current build of the game has stopped, and they are shifting publishers. So they were being published by Bandai Namco, and apparently the build of the game they were working on is basically being completely scrapped. They're starting over.
This is gonna be another KOTOR remake situation, isn't it?
If it ever releases at all, we'll see. I don't like the sound of that. I feel like a total from the ground reboot after this many years is a really bad sign. But we'll see what happens.
I mean, it's like, on the one hand, part of me is like, nothing of value was lost because I don't like Nero, but at the same time I'm like, oh, but all the Tamamo fanboys though.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Maestro
play as
over there.
Archer in that game, yeah.
True.
But yeah, so those of you in Blade's audience here that are listening that are fans of the PS3 and the Vita, just keep that in mind. I do still recommend downloading PS1 and PSP titles on your Vita or PS3 because they are DRM free as far as I can tell.
And so this is currently, I did make a little short video about this to announce it as soon as I got the PS3 closing announcement. This is currently the only legal way to obtain the Mega Man Legends games. Legends 1, Legends 2, and Misadventures... Am I back?
Yeah, run that one more time, sorry.
This is currently the only legal way to obtain Mega Man Legends 1, Legends 2, and Misadventures of Tron Bonne. You can find Legends 1 for a pretty reasonable price, or you can get the N64 version on eBay. Legends 2 is expensive. Misadventures of Tron Bonne will cost you an arm and a leg. And these games are like $7 on the PS3 store, so it absolutely worth it. Just go get it. We actually had to use
as opposed to like $400 for a physical of Tron Bonne.
And even with Legends 2, apparently there's a bug in some copies of the game. It was a printing error where there will be audio glitches at important story lore dumps. Like, Rio and I were playing that on physical copy that I borrowed from my brother, and we got to the part where it basically explains everything, and we see the images going by, but the audio track is stuck looping this one segment of audio, and it's not giving us what we need, and we're like, we can't go further. We're at the end of the game, but the audio broke and we just missed a big lore dump. So I had to go buy it on digital on PS3, and then when we got snowed in, I worked my way all the way back there, and got back to the part of the game we were at, then picked it back up on stream and replayed it from there.
Yeah, but definitely go and pick up those games on the PS3 and the Vita. For my digital library, I have just a lot of games that I either wanted to play on the go for the Vita, or games that I couldn't find physical copies of for the PS1. Because I have a decent PS1 library, but if I either didn't own the game or I also wanted it portable, I got it there. So like Final Fantasy 5, 7, 9, Tactics, and like Front Mission 3, Breath of Fire 3.
I didn't know there was a 3 on that one.
I have Armored Core 1 as well, which is another expensive game. What else do I have? Certain PSP games that I didn't... So the PSP is weird because of the UMDs. So I don't like the scratchy noise that the UMDs make when they run in my PSP. And it might be a problem with my PSP, but I'm really paranoid about it. So I have Valkyria Chronicles 2 and Hexus Force downloaded on my Vita, even though I have physical PSP copies of them, just kind of as a safety thing. Oh, and did I tell you I did download the I have that on the PS Vita online store is that Star Wars Mega Bundle.
Oh yeah,
Did I tell you about that?
I believe so, yeah. Well, it comes with Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, Republic Commando, and the Jedi...
Oh, no, this is on the Vita.
Oh, okay.
This is on the Vita. So it's a $40 package, but it comes with Battlefront 2, Battlefront Renegade Squadron, Battlefront Elite Squadron, Force Unleashed,
for PSP?
Lego Star Wars 3, and the other Clone Wars game. Yeah, it's all those PSP games.
Heck yeah.
So, and I actually booted up and played a little bit of the PSP Force Unleashed on that, and it runs good. I'm like genuinely really impressed by the PSP version. It's really surprisingly well made. It's basically just a port of the PS2 version. Do you still hear me okay?
Yeah.
And then something else I want to say about the Sony controversy before we move on that has happened since I made the video on the main channel is that I have been getting a surprising amount of I will uncharitably call fanboy apologetics from Nintendo fans regarding this announcement. So I made a point in the video to be like, you know, the Switch 2 has kind of surpassed my expectations a little bit in terms of its quality and just everything related to it, because it didn't really have any issues on launch, and it was relatively solid in terms of the build quality and the quality of the games on there and performance and everything else. Switch 2 has been relatively good. But
that said, we do not give them mercy for the game key cards or the freaking digital game cards. Like, even apps on the Switch 2 and Switch 1 are now digital game key cards. Like the other day, I didn't have my Switch in my room with me, but I wanted to put on some background noise on YouTube because my phone was on the charger. Okay, I found out later that YouTube and Crunchyroll don't work on the Switch 2, but they didn't tell me that. But it's like I have my profile logged in, same profile on both consoles, and then I was like, oh, I don't have YouTube downloaded. Okay, check my re-downloads. There it is. Click it, and then it's like, hey, if you want to re-download this, you have to trade it to yourself from your other console, even though it won't actually work on the console. They're making you trade apps from the same account to a different console. Like just because,
whereas again,
just because Sony has shot themselves in the feet multiple times. Like someone take away their shovel. They haven't just dug their own grave. They are actively burying themselves alive. Just because they are doing this cataclysmic committing Sudoku, don't grant Nintendo mercy. We did not judge the GameCube cards too hard. They are still an anti-consumer practice. Just because one kid breaks a window and the other craps on the rug doesn't mean you forget one or the other. They both did bad things, so punish them accordingly.
Yep. So to unpack that, I said in the video, I was like, I hate to say this, but I do not recommend buying a Switch 2. And if you're worried about anti-consumer stuff and physical games going away and all that, I don't think buying a Switch 2 is a solution. And I had a commenter that came in and was like, and again, I try not to ever read comments because there's not a single productive thing that can be found in the comment section. It just makes you anxious and depressed. And someone was like, oh, well, lamenting the death of physical media and then insisting that you shouldn't buy a Switch 2 is short-sighted. And I'm like, okay, let's think about this for a second.
I'm not going to say...
try not to be...
I'm not going to say that I completely regret my Switch 2 purchase, but I will say that a year on from launch, because I did buy it at launch, this is one time where I let FOMO get the best of me. I don't think it has fully justified the expense yet. From my personal use of it, I'm still perfectly content with my Switch 1. The Switch 2 has not yet proven itself that it was worth the several $100s I plunked down for it. It doesn't have any exclusives that have justified it yet, to me.
What I was going to say is again, Nintendo started with some of the anti-consumer stuff that we're seeing right now. So the $80 games, they were there first. So at the beginning of the...
They weren't... this wasn't the first instance of an $80 game, but this kind of made it mainstream. They tried to make it more socially acceptable. They brought it into the modern era, so to speak.
Yeah, so...
That's one of those where it's just getting into semantics, and you got people who want to hold up this catalog from
$60 for a game has almost held for 20 years. It held from 2006 pretty much with the Xbox 360 and PS3, and it held all the way through the 7th gen and the 8th gen. I'm actually surprised that the price held for as long as it did, but even going into the 9th gen, and it's hard to place whether the Switch 1 is an 8th or a 9th gen console because of the it released kind of in between. Same thing with the Wii U. But if you consider the Switch an 8th gen console a peer to the PS4 and Xbox One, and it had $60 games on release, which it did, and then randomly in 2022, 2023, when Tears of the Kingdom came out, they were like, well, what if it was $70? Who's going to stop us? We can charge whatever we want. It's Zelda. You'll buy it. And it's that people are like, yeah, you know what? I will buy Zelda for $70. Fuck it. It's Zelda. And so, it's that attitude
coming up, and
Nintendo can do
we're also coming off the heels of the pandemic. At the time, everyone was kind of fed up with things, and just to get that little tiny scrap of serotonin, we're a little bit looser with our money around this time. Yeah.
And a lot of corporations were increasing prices to extract a little bit more profits when profits were down. But anyway,
heard you got that stimulus check.
So Tears of the Kingdom comes out and it's $70, and then the 9th gen more or less begins, and then we have games, or some games are 70, some games are still 60, and then again the Switch 2 comes out, and now Mario Kart is 80. And in addition to that, it's this past generation saw consoles only get more expensive as the generation went on. You didn't have a situation where here's the PS5 at $500 and here's the PS5 Slim at $400 or whatever. it was like, no, here's the same PS5, and then here's the same PS5, but it's more expensive. And then they did the Pro, which is like $750 or some horse shit like that.
Yep.
And it's so you're overpaying for the console, you're overpaying for the games, and then you mentioned the game keys thing, which I think is like, again, there are some games on the Switch 2 that are complete on cart that are like real games.
Mario Kart is one such, yes.
And again, doesitplay.com has been a great resource as far as keeping track of which 2 games are complete and which ones are the game keys and all that. But this commenter that was basically just like, oh well, telling people not to buy the Switch 2 is short-sighted when blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, well, based on their track record, if you think logically, do you think that Nintendo's anti-consumer practices, given that their competition is going to stop doing physical media, are going to get better or worse? Because I'd be willing to bet money that they're only going to get worse. Because if their competition is not going to pay to manufacture copies, then why are they going to do it?
I honestly feel like, while yes, Nintendo is often seen as more like the family-friendly option, it's like you buy the Switch 2 for the family, you get the Mario Party or Mario Kart for the family. Nintendo as a company, I think at their core, like, are more not anti-consumer but anti-fan, because they have a much harsher piracy stance than the other two. And while this is not directly a discussion about piracy, it's one of those things of where if they are given the option to remove physical media, which they would try to spin as maintaining all of the rights to their own intellectual properties, why wouldn't they jump on it? Just given their track record of this kind of stuff. Like, maybe that is a bit too doomerish, but I don't know.
I do think there is a chance that Nintendo would delay the dissolution of physical games longer than the other companies. So Nintendo would continue to manufacture physical copies for longer. My estimate is like another 2 or so years longer, but let's say they continue to do it forever in some capacity. You are still dealing with impermanent versions because of the game keys or whatever. But here's the other thing that somebody pointed out, is like, somebody was talking about the cancellation of the of physical games, and they were like, look, all these other pieces of obsolete media still get made. So music CDs, cassette tapes, vinyls, they're all obsolete. They all still get made. DVDs still get made, even though they've been replaced by Blu-ray, which has been replaced by digital, and so on and so on. All those things still get made, and so why can't video games still get made? And the answer is,
but they don't want to.
Hang on, stick with me on this.
Okay.
If it became the case where video games, especially Nintendo games, were only made in small quantities and released to like boutique retailers, it would be a scalping nightmare. And like every single Nintendo game under the sun would have its price inflated relative to its digital copy, which would not solve the problem of getting rid of physical, because they wouldn't be available. So it's either all or nothing, really, where it's like you can't have them be like this niche boutique thing, because there is enough of a cultural demand for them, and there's enough like collectors where people would scalp and resell and then overly inflate the secondhand prices of those scarce copies. Yeah. And so people would still be forced to buy digital for the sake of price and accessibility.
I know some games only have physical releases through limited run games, but they've been under fire a lot recently for a lot of things, dropping the ball on some of the pre-orders that they've done. But you see the GameStop has actually added back a lot of retro games now. Walked into GameStop the other day, saw a copy of Pokemon Fire Red for like $130. Like, I have that, so can I get $130 if I hand this to you?
Yeah, well, one thing's for sure is that those independent publishers that publish games like Limited Run and Red Art Games and all those other ones that I talked about in the so funny little side tangent in the game collecting video, that segment where I like read all the names of all the different companies that publish indie games, I had to do like 12 takes of that line, so it's like burned into my memory of all those. But so none of those companies are gonna get a hold of Nintendo games though. Nope. I mean, some of them do publish on the Switch, but it's never gonna be a thing of Nintendo's going to outsource their first party titles to another company like that.
Last time we saw that was back on the Philips CDI.
True. But yeah, that's my only other caveat about that topic is I'm seeing a lot of, and I've seen this in like other online discussions and Twitter discourse and stuff like that since reading that comment where it's like, you know, Nintendo manages to do nothing and still win just because their competition trips over their own dick, and so you have Microsoft is making the absolute worst decisions ever, and then Sony making also just the worst decisions ever, and Nintendo being like, hey, we did some shitty stuff, but you'll forgive us because we're Nintendo, right? And then just
not yet, we haven't.
The apologetics I've seen for Nintendo, I can only classify as a fanboy attitude.
Yep.
And I just don't think it is logically consistent, because if you look at any of the things that they have done, I have zero confidence. They've done zero things to accumulate good faith within me that they are going to be pro-consumer going into this generation.
Agreed.
I just have zero confidence in it at all. So that's my tangent about that. The rest is in my video on the main channel. I'm very happy to... I'm in a pretty privileged position as far as this goes because I have a big physical collection.
Same.
And I already have a Steam Deck before they got overly inflated in their price because of the AI bubble.
Yeah. Just.
And none of this stuff with the tech industry
Pop
and the
the
games
bubble.
industry, and yeah, none of this stuff is going to get any better until the AI bubble. So I said in the video that we need to resurrect Dante Alighieri from the dead, just so we can get him to write another Circle of Hell for Sam Altman to go to when he dies, and then we'll be fine.
I'll look it up later. I didn't actually hear that name until this past week, because people are like, this is the guy responsible for everything AI that's happened. You don't have to go into it now because this is already kind of long-winded, but I'll look up what he's done later to get the full context. But I have heard the name before. So
yeah.
All right, so
but yeah,
now
that's it on that. If you want to catch up with chat and go over your next topic,
I want to bag on the naysayers to people who are defending physical media. The ones who are like, oh, I haven't bought a physical game in 15 years, so it doesn't affect me. When was the last time you actually bought physical media? Well, the newest games that I have physical, picture on screen right now, because I don't have them in the room with me, Mega Man Star Force Legacy Collection, PS5 and Switch physical. That's my hand right there. Other physical media, I bought this VHS tape earlier this week. It's still sealed, still new in package. I got a new VCR coming tomorrow, and I got more tapes coming tomorrow and Wednesday. This is a PS3 game I bought physical, and I'm opening it here. It is a physical copy of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle for PS3, because I wanted the original, even though I have the Switch version of All-Star Battle R, I wanted the original as well. So there's that.
is that a Euro copy?
Yeah, it was cheaper than getting the North American copy, and
that checks out.
Apparently, Dynasty Warriors Gundam Reborn does have a physical English copy, but it's like from Asian countries. It's Asian English, is what it said. But it's like $400, and I'm like, the digital one was like $60, but it's not on the store anymore. Anyway, other physical games I bought: Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. Bought that at launch. My number 9. I bought that recently. I did an unboxing video on that. Got this at a convention, a physical copy of Kingdom Hearts 1.5 and 2.5 Remix for my PS4. And I have it on PS3. Dissidia NT, because I want to do a video on that, even though that game's garbage. I bought a physical copy. This one does not have a North American physical copy. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Eyes of Heaven. I bought the Euro copy, so it would be physical. Yes, people still want physical media. My current gaming projects, they're not on any of the current generations. It's on Xbox 360 with physical games. This is what I'm doing in the background instead of doing the Mega Man Star Force Iceberg. that video is coming eventually, I promise. But yes, people do still collect physical media. People do still buy physical media, both new and used. So your argument is completely asinine. It's like, and they want to get defensive, like, oh, you're mad at me for having an opinion. No. What this is right here, yes, you voiced an opinion, but your opinion is irrelevant at the moment. Because if you're not going to provide anything meaningful to the conversation, oh, we're upset because something is affecting us. Well, it doesn't affect me. You might as well have just taken the microphone and farted into it because you gave nothing of substance.
Right.
All you did was waste our time and made the room stink. So it's one of those where I don't like to silence people's opinions, but this is one where you're offering literally nothing to the conversation. And it does affect you whether or not you want to admit it. Especially when you want to look at that thing I showed earlier with Sony has the right to revoke your library. Yeah, I want to see someone defend this. Like, actually, man, I should have got the picture from it. You know that one, it's like a soy jack meme, it's like the fat guy with a knife, and he's like, leave the multi-billion-dollar company alone. You've seen that one before?
Yeah.
Someone made one of those, but removed the knives. Leave the multi-billion, where are my knives? Oh, well, I didn't own those were just licensed to me by the company, and they have the right to revoke them whenever they want. So back off. And I'm like, that is it. That is perfect right there.
That's what came to mind when that person was doing Nintendo apologetics.
Right?
But, no, my take on that is that the people who are like, oh, whatever, it doesn't affect me, or who are saying that it's a good thing, or just doing rage bait for engagement.
Yep. That is best case scenario.
I did, and just again, so the audience knows as well, specifically, Gizmodo and Polygon have opinion pieces that are literally rage bait. Like
that's all they ever do anyway.
Like, yeah, the Polygon is specifically like, this is our spicy take category, and it's like, this is literally click farming.
Dude, this hot sauce is spicier than your take.
Yeah, you should not be allowed to say things like that on the internet unscathed. But it's just rage bait. Don't fall for it. Especially
don't click on it.
I mentioned we were talking about this right before the stream.
Yeah.
But like Gizmodo is notoriously a basically the equivalent of a tabloid from an internet standpoint, and they are notorious for like griefing press shows for tech stuff. Like they went to CES one year with this universal remote that turns off TVs, and they were shutting off people's displays mid-presentation. It was really shitty. So they're a terrible company.
People still buy comic books. They I don't know if these specifically are available digitally, but I buy multiple copies of these because I want to support Mega Man. Like multiple copies of each issue. Like, I've got the different cover variants. Yeah, people do still buy physical media. I know the conversation's about games, but like, if the whole thing is all digital future all the time, then everyone's life is going to suck.
Yeah, and as far as the, I meant to talk about this in the video that I made, but I forgot about it, which is the, buying the physical copies from other regions rather than buying it digitally. I've done that for several titles. So for most of them are PS4, because there was an era in the last like two or 3 years where a game would have a physical PS4 version in Japan, but not in the US, and sometimes it would either be digital only on PS4 or not at all.
Yep.
So Metaphor ReFantazio, Shin Megami Tensei Vengeance, the Atelier Marie remake, and the Final Fantasy Tactics remake are in that category, where they have, and even Unicorn Overlord as well, but I have not been able to track down the PS4 Unicorn Overlord because it's fucking expensive. But yeah, there is quite a few games in that category where it's like they're region free. The Asian English copies have the English language script on them, and just some for the Switch as well, which are digital only over here. So like Chrono Cross, I think my Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD that I'm playing right now is an import. But yeah, I've been saying fuck you to them for a long time. If they're not gonna release it physically over here, I'll just buy it physically from somewhere else.
Right.
Until I literally can't.
it's been a little difficult these last couple of years for reasons that don't need to be clarified, but yes. Alright, so I'm going to take a second to catch up chat before we move on to the next thing.
You're good there.
Bree was in chat earlier. She was basically agreeing with what we were ranting about. Sony sucks. The shop closed down, was delayed for 3 years. Master Chief Snake is in the audience. Hello. Sony is going to be worse like EA, but worse than Nintendo. EA's already worse than Nintendo. What are you talking about? Sony is ruining everything, including the gamers community on PlayStation. A bunch of people boycotting Sony. They have also started using AI in some of the game productions. Sir Isaac, welcome to the chat. Oh, my stream bleeped for a second. We're good though. He is recommending I jailbreak my PS3 because they're about to shut it down, which maybe, because I was not able to get the DLC for the last Dynasty Warriors Gundam game. Even though I do own the game, I wasn't able to get the DLC. I'd pay for it if it was still up, but it got delisted before any of this happened. And Sir Isaac says he still needs to get the deluxe remaster. At this point, I would say...
Carry on. Nothing's happening over here. Oh, is that a Cyclonus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sir Isaac says he needs to get deluxe remaster. I would say at this point go with the Steam version. All right, and I want to nip this one in the bud too. Like, people want to be, they want to say, oh, people want to complain about not having physical media, but we'll still have a massive Steam library. First of all, Valve is way less anti-consumer than the other companies, and secondly, it's a thing of if digital is the only option, why would you not go with the best?
Right.
That, like, Steam is just better than the others when it comes to digital. Like you said, and like several others have said, if it is digital only, consoles lose all meaning. Like I guess the PC Master Race wins in the end. Like, you know, we would try to put it off for as long as we can, but here we are. Our consoles are disappearing. The console war ended up being a Cold War, and then they all just got cabin fever and seppuku'd themselves.
Yeah. No, I said the same thing in my video where it's like, if you are going to give me no other choice but to be digital only, then consoles do serve no purpose. All of the arguments for PC now have so much more weight because you have removed the physical preservation aspect of it out of the equation. And again, like, convenience is not the argument anymore because of the Steam Deck. Price is not the argument anymore because things go on sale so frequently on Steam and for sometimes very good prices.
Like, yeah.
The reason why it's better on PC than console is because the PC is an open market that's competitive with itself. There's multiple platforms, whereas if PlayStation games, for example, are only digital, then they are under really no obligation to ever put things on sale. I mean, they probably will, but there's no obligation for them to reduce the price ever. And I gave some analogies about this in my video where it's like, if you look at a game like Resident Evil 5. So I vividly remember back in the day on the Xbox 360, you could buy Resident Evil 5 through your console digitally on Games on Demand, and it was $50. And if this was like 2011 or so, and the game had been out for 2 years, you could go to GameStop and buy a physical copy for $10. Buying it digitally through Games on Demand made 0 sense. It was a, like, strictly worse option in every feasible category. But if you take away the used games market and physical used games driving down the price of games, then there's no obligation for them to ever reduce the price. The games having their prices reduced for physical copies due to relevance and the need to rotate physical product out of stores forces the price down. And when you get rid of that, you're still going to be charging $50, $60, $70, $80 for a game that came out a decade ago. Right. Because there's no obligation to make it any cheaper.
Last kind of point I want to make on this whole digital versus physical thing is, and I'm looking at you, Nintendo, with this one, like, because this is the point that I was making when the Mega Man Star Force Collection was announced. That's around the time that Switch 2 announced their digital game key card nonsense, whatever they have. even for IPs that I love and want to support to death, if Mega Man and all of its new releases eventually become digital only, or they become game key cards, just on the principle of the thing, I'm not going to support Nintendo, Sony, or Xbox. It'll be Steam only, and it will most likely be when it goes on sale. Like, yes, if we are going towards a digital-only gaming future, I will go kicking and screaming. I have more than enough physical backlog to keep me busy for the rest of my life. So, like, FOMO's not going to get to me as easily as a lot of other people might. Grand Theft Auto 6, I really don't care. Like, and the fact that they said no physical copy made me care even less. Yeah, that's just another...
Go ahead and...
yeah. Go ahead and...
segue into your next topic there?
Yeah, let's talk about something a little less depressing. Let's talk about Gundam, which is full of war crimes and genocide.
Yeah. So,
I've kind of got back on a bit of a Gundam kick lately. Yes, I have watched the three... I like to call them the Toonami UC trio. The UC OVA trio, because the way they were released over here is kind of an interesting order. First, we had Gundam Wing, and then after Gundam Wing, we had the original Mobile Suit Gundam from 1979, and then following that, we had 8th MS Team, which takes place at the same point in the timeline as the original series. Gundam 0080 War in the Pocket, which took place at the very end of that war, and then this one never actually made it to Toonami, most likely because 9/11 happened, but it was on Adult Swim Action, Gundam 0083 Stardust Memory. 0080 never made it to Toonami proper, but it was on Toonami Midnight Run and Adult Swim Action, slated to be on the daytime show, but it never got around to it. The reason I've been watching these is because I've got another project cooking in the back, where I'm going to do a video comparing the Toonami censored cuts versus the uncut DVD versions, which that's one of the reasons why I have this VHS tape right here. This is not part of one of those three. This is the original one, and reportedly, the VHS versions of the Mobile Suit Gundam Universal Century stuff did contain the censored Toonami cuts, but on VHS tape, and I've not seen a high-quality rip of those anywhere. So, if it's true, then I can use these for that video. But we'll find out when my VCR comes in. So, Gundam 8th MS Team. You're not super well versed in Gundam. You know some of the basics, like you know that the main character of the original show was Amuro Ray. You know the event is called the 1 Year War. It is the Earth Federation versus the Principality of Zeon, right? You know you play Federation versus Zeon, so you know the basic premise of the original Mobile Suit Gundam, right?
Well, I have also watched the movie trilogy of 0079.
Oh, heck yeah. Oh, was that when it came on Netflix like a year or two ago? Or 3 years ago?
No, I had the DVD of it.
Heck yeah. I got the VHS tape of number 2 and 3, and those contain the almost lost English dub, which that dub's been archived on the internet, so it's not totally lost, but the only way you can get the dub is on VHS. Steve Bloom voices Char Aznavour in that.
Yeah, like, what? So it was the Fist of the North Star Ken's Rage video that I did where I was talking about certain Japanese media being like anti-war in its themes. Mm-hmm. There's a clip from 0079 I use in that, and I got that from the DVD.
Was it the colony drop?
It's when Amuro first gets control of the Gundam and he doesn't quite know what it does yet, and he blows a hole in the colony, and like several people get sucked out,
including his dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh my god, this thing is crazy powerful.
Yeah. 8th MS Team and 0080 have some of the strongest anti-war messaging out of a lot of the Gundam series, at least around the time. Again, I haven't really kept up with Gundam as of late, just because I haven't had the time or the means to. The most recent that I've seen is I saw the first Hathaway movie, and I saw the movie for G-Quux, which is basically Gundam but Evangelion, and it apparently gets really weird when you go into the series proper. Like, that one got deprioritized for me personally just because I can't stand the mech designs. It got bumped way down the priority list. Despite the premise being cool, I'm like, mech designs aren't doing it for me. But, 8th MS Team. The premise of this one is that it takes place during the 1-year war, so during the war Amuro is fighting in, and the main team are the 8th Mobile Suit Team, and they're fighting the war going on in Asia at the time, and you got mass-produced Gundams, so they're not as super robot-y as the original RX-78 Gundam that Amuro has. And it's a 12-episode OVA, 12 episodes, plus a little additional clip that was released later, like a short episode. You've probably seen the gif of it. It's like the Gundam holding the beam saber, like, unfortunately between its legs, and then the blade activates and the river just spews out in all directions. You seen that one? Like, that's been memed to death. That is from the bonus mini episode that was released after the series was finished. So it's that. Premises, or the main character is Shiro Amada, who is kind of one of those, big-eyed, big dreams kind of deal. He's really gung-ho about fighting the war because he's seen what Zeon has done firsthand. He was there at Side 2 when the colony got gassed before they dropped it on the planet, and bro's got PTSD from that, so he's like, Zeon is completely evil, I want all of them to die, I'm going to kick them off the Earth, because that's where we're going to fight now. And he's one of those where he was assigned command of his unit, which I don't know if we're ever given a reason why he was put in charge, because he does seem relatively young and inexperienced compared to some of the other squad members, but he's made the captain of the team, and he starts off being very gung-ho about everything, but as time goes on, during the first episode, he ends up meeting an enemy Zeon pilot who gets stranded with him out in space in this old, abandoned Federation ship, because both their mobile suits got destroyed, and they both bailed out, and then they're like, okay, well, we're in this ship, and neither of us are getting rescued anytime soon. Rather than shoot each other, what if we team up and try to escape and get back to our own separate sides? So that way we can both survive. And Aina is the pilot's name. She gives this watch to Shiro because his is broken. They need to synchronize time, like me back here in 10 minutes, that kind of thing. It was like a really fancy necklace watch thing. And they both managed to meet back up with their own forces. Shiro accidentally takes the watch and hangs on to it for a while. Time goes on, and then they meet again on the battlefield. She's piloting this massive mobile armor, and Shiro ends up getting, taken for a ride. They end up crashing in the mountains, and it's, snowing, and it's like an ice storm, so they have to team up to survive that, and they both kind of come to the conclusion that, maybe people on the other side aren't so bad. And, oddly, before the crash, Shiro, as his Gundam is falling, he confesses his love for Aina, and I'm like, this is the second time you have seen her. All you've done is, to show any kind of interest in her, is that you have stared at her watch, and you open it up seeing that there's a picture of her and her brother inside, and you thought that was her boyfriend. And I'm like, what in the Romeo and Juliet is this? While yes, you two do have good chemistry, you're adorable together, I've got any better build-up than that.
Yeah, he's like, it's wartime, baby, it's now or never.
So, they crash in the mountains, they team up, and then they do manage to, again, get picked up by their own respective forces. In the middle of a firefight, by the way, it's like, a Federation dropship comes in, they're like, oh, hey, there's the wrecked mobile armor, let's pick it up and take it back to base. Aina's like, how about you don't? Self-destruct. Blows it up, ends up killing everyone on the ship, and kills the mobile suit that was trying to retrieve it. After she gets picked up by her forces, the Federation shows up, picks up Shiro, but because he was out in the field with a Zeon soldier and did not attempt to kill her, he is now put under scrutiny and is accused of espionage. So, we do see a bit of the corruption of one of the Federation leaders during this time period, which that's something that becomes much more relevant later, but in addition to giving the standing order to Shiro's other squad mates, of if he acts suspicious or if he deserts in the middle of a battle, shoot him on sight. He also, while they're trying to break into the Zeon base in this mountain to try to destroy the completed mobile armor, he's like, hey, he pulls over one of the captains of the mobile suit squads, who's their field commander. He's like, hey, we keep trying to break into the base, but they've got explosives planted. We keep losing mobile suits and soldiers trying to disarm the bombs. Well, what if we just made the mountain disappear? And he's like, are you suggesting we use nuclear weapons? Good sir, that is forbidden by the Antarctic Treaty. I'm not saying we should go get a nuclear warhead. No, of course not. But, mobile suits are powered by nuclear reactors, and we can't completely guard against accidents, can we? And when the other captain is like, you're suggesting we sacrifice our own people. Like, he didn't even get to finish his sentence. He's like, you're suggesting that, and then guy kind of tightens his grip on his hand. He's like, the end of the war is very near. Our final push on the Xeon homeland is just around the corner, and I don't want our Supreme Commander laughing at me for failing to stop that mobile armor that's inside that base over there. So you see him already, like, he's thinking about breaking the treaty, like, sacrificing, like, his own soldiers for, like, yes, people die in war, and that is very sad. And he's over here like, yeah, it's just another life. It doesn't matter. Because he's over here in the back lines. He's not even on the front. But you see, even the good guys of the Earth Federation did already have corrupt members in it. The series ends with the mobile armor Opsilus launching, and it fires its particle beam, and it draws a line in the ground, and Ina and her brother are the ones piloting it. Ina says, hey, Federation, I could have taken you all out with that shot. That was a warning. We're about to let our wounded and sick leave the base in this ship that we have. If you will agree to a ceasefire until the ship is gone, we will also partake in the ceasefire. We're not going to shoot until they are out of the battlefield. Can we have a temporary truce? And Captain Ryer is like, yeah, okay. Deploy the snipers, get them into position, go ahead and get a lock on the thing's cockpit. You just said you agreed to ceasefire. I didn't say an indefinite ceasefire. We're just going to wait till the hospital ship is gone. But even though the ship takes off, but then Gineas, Ina's brother, is like, hey, while the Federation is distracted and got their guard down, I'm just going to fire a burst barrage and just take out a bunch of mobile suits at once. And then Captain Ryer's like, all right, Cowabunga it is. Target the hospital ship. Zap, blows it up. So all the sick and injured are now dead. War crimes on both sides.
Man, they suck at diplomacy in this.
Freaking right?
The one shot at diplomatic, they're like, nobody gets what they wanted. Everybody dies.
Right? And then Gineas tries to spin it as, oh, you tried to play nice with them, but look what they did. And she's like, you're the one who pulled the trigger first. And he's like, oh, it would have happened anyway. You know it. Like, so, Ina and Shiro end up meeting up again on the battlefield after Shiro's Gundam takes a heavy beating from... honestly, one of the best fights in, like, at least at the time, in all of Gundam. It's freaking hilarious. Part of it is because I'm jumping all over the place. I'm going to wind it back just a second. Shiro's Gundam is damaged because the guy they were fighting is an ace with a pretty high-spec mobile suit. It's not, like, as strong as the Gundam, but because the pilot is so good and is so experienced, he was able to take on 3 Gundams and 3 gun tanks simultaneously. He wanted to take out the gun tanks so that way they couldn't shoot down the hospital ship. So, he's over here doing things like purposefully shooting the ground to kick up dust so that he can get the jump on you. His mobile suit is called the Guth Custom. It's got like an electric grappling cable in its wrist. So, I got a clear shot of you. Look at that. There goes your beam rifle. It shorted out and exploded. You can't use it now. While you're distracted, I'm just going to take this sword and just stab it into the top of this gun tank, and there's going to be a massive spray of dark liquid everywhere. I'm sure you've seen that clip before. Like,
it's the blue?
Yeah, the blue one that's got the...
yeah.
And it's just like, stab! And it's just blood everywhere. Like, it's not blood, it's like mechanical fluid, but you hear the crew screaming as it happens. Even in the Tsunami version, I'm like, okay. So Shiro ends up going one-on-one with him, and he used the electric cable to... first, he disables Shiro's arm because he held up his shield to block it. It grabbed the shield, electric shock, rips the shield off, and the left arm is now disabled. And then he's like, oh, hey, I have a sword. Watch me throw it over there. And then Shiro's distracted because he threw the sword, and then he looks back, the guy's jumped, and he's like, electric shock cable to the chest, your Gundam's now disabled. So he's like, okay, I'm just going to use you as a shield while I reload my gun. Alright, pick you up, use you as a mute shield. Alright, other Federation pilots, what you gonna do? You gonna shoot me while I got your captain right here? Oh, you got your Gundam working? Okay. So Shiro gets away from him, and Guy gets his sword back. Rather than pulling out either of his Gundam's beam sabers, what's he choose to do? Well, he's got a left arm that's dead weight, rips it off and proceeds to beat the other guy with his own arm.
That's incredible.
It is fantastic. Like, that's some Mortal Kombat Quan Chi nonsense right there.
Yeah.
Rip off your limb and beat you with it.
I've wanted to watch 8th MS Team. It's definitely one of the Gundam series I'm the most curious about. I also have in my backlog of model kits, I have the mobile suit from that series. I don't know if it is the protagonist or not, but it has the
Easy-8.
the big cannon where he braces it on the shield.
Oh, it's probably one of just the mass-produced Gundams. Yeah, the Shiro does use one of those, but his gets really badly banged up, and then it gets repaired and turned into the ground-type Gundam Easy-8, which looks a little bit different, and it's lacking the V-horns. But again, if you saw that one where he's got the beam saber and it like makes the river split, then you've seen what that one looks like. Same series though, yes. So next episode, Shiro and Aina team up again. Shiro broke his arm during the fight, so Aina's having to operate like half the controls on the Gundam. They jump up and they just plow the Gundam's fist right into the Absolus's cockpit, so Gineas gets turned into tomato paste. And they crash. Absolus explodes. The Gundam's lower half is caught in the beam as it fires. The beam manages to take out the captain who said destroy the hospital ship. His, like, ground ship just explodes. The rest of the 8th team survives, and Shiro goes missing. And then in the final episode, we don't really see much mobile suit combat, but it is some of the first mention we hear of new types in 8th MS team. You said you watched the movie, so you remember Lala and you remember Dr. Flanagan? Like, they talked about the new type research. These were some of the other experimentals. They're children who showed new type potential, and they're from the Flanagan Institute, but on December 24th, which is when the Battle of Solomon takes place, oh hey, a big Zam, same day, their ship ends up falling to Earth, and because it got attacked by the Federation while they were en route somewhere, so they get away in an escape ship, and they crash somewhere, and then two of the other, like, main characters from 8th Team are looking for Shiro because they're sure he survived, even though, like, there's evidence to the contrary. They're like, yeah, he's got to be out there somewhere. Mikkel, he's, like, the youngest member of the 8th Team. He was not one of the pilots, but he was one of the operators in the hover truck. His entire shtick is that throughout the entire series, he is constantly writing love letters to his girlfriend, Bibi. And then the first thing we see when we're brought up to present day, which we're not given an exact date, but it's got to be like 8 months after the end of the war, so we're in UC 0080, probably sometime around, I want to say July or so, somewhere around then. We see him, like, on a little riverboat, and he's slumped over, got a bottle of booze in his hand, and he's holding a picture of Bibi at her wedding, and she is holding a baby. And I'm like, and the groom's face is scribbled out, so I'm like, first of all, I already thought, oh yeah, so Bibi ran off with some other guy while he's at war. But the fact that she has a child, like a full child during the wedding, that means that she was already cheating on him way before. Like poor Mikkel, you were over here spilling your guts, constantly worried that you're going to die in the battlefield, never get to see her again, and she's already got a kid. Like,
yeah,
oof.
If that's the implication of that.
That's very much the implication of it. Why do you think he's got a booze bottle in his hand? He's constantly drinking. But Mikkel and one of the other side characters, her name is Kiki. She is from a village full of guerrilla fighters. Basically, Zeon or Federation steps into their territory. Cowabunga it is. And she befriends the 8th Team because they like the Federation more than Zeon. Doesn't like either of them, but these guys are cool. And they're off looking for Shiro. They end up coming across the kids from the Flanagan Institute. And it turns out that they are named after Shiro and Aina and the other members of the 8th MS Team. And they have a whole little thing, and they're like, so the person who gave you those names, that's this guy, right? Holds up a picture of him. And, like, he's like, yeah, it's, they went that way. And then they go to sleep. They wake up the next day. The kids are just gone, vanished without a trace. They never really explain how or why that happens. But then the last thing we see is that Kiki and Mikkel do find Shiro and Aina. Shiro actually lost his one of his legs during that final fight with the Absolus. And Aina is now very pregnant. They're just off living in the wilderness somewhere in their own house, and they managed to get away from both sides of the war. So I guess, yeah, technically they're both wanted for deserting, but no one's bothering them out here, so kind of a nice note to leave off on. But, I said this is one of the good anti-war messages. It does show that war brings out the worst in everybody, and people suck on both sides, which is pretty much, that's war in a nutshell. Like, it was said in... I think it was said in the dub of one of the Gundam movies when they're doing the intro, like the backstory of how the 1 Year War started. There are no victors, only victims. And I'm like, yeah, that tracks. And that's 8th MS.
Yeah, that's a pretty blunt anti-war sentiment there. I like that line a lot.
The next one is even more so than 8th MS team. Gundam 0080 War in the Pocket.
Yeah. I know the plot of this one. I haven't watched it from beginning to end myself, but I know what this one is about, and this one is a rough sit, especially if you're.
It's great. It is great, but it's also like I kind of want to cry just a little bit, more than a little bit.
You got to be in the right headspace for this one. This is not this is not your build fighters. This is no like upbeat action show that's for fun and everything. It's
get that trash out of here.
Yeah.
That's the boomer in me talking. That's. I have a personal vendetta against build fighters and build divers because one of the two things that Tomino wanted Gundam to be at its inception, one is the anti-war message, two is that he doesn't want it to just sell toys. He's not making Transformers, he is making a space soap opera. And Build Fighters is literally them using the Gunpla.
Yeah.
It's the same reason why, even though Gundam Breaker is a fun game, I don't like the story or world build of it, because they're fighting using the literal model kits. Like,
right. That was
so shameless.
That's what I disliked about that premise as well, yeah.
Like, can I get Gundam Breaker, but as, like, its own original story or some multiversal crossover thing, kind of like how Dynasty Warriors Gundam does things? Just give me the same customization options and just scale everything properly. Like, because I love the Gundam customization. It's cool, but I hate the aspect of it being actual Gunpla.
Here's an HD version of Federation versus Zeon.
Heck yeah. Well, that's not HD, that's Deluxe. Never mind. The PS2 game is the Deluxe version because the original was an arcade game, if I'm not mistaken. Which that does explain a lot about its game design. Alright, so Gundam 0080, 6-episode OVA, aired on Toonami's Midnight Run. This one, the main character is not even a soldier. The main character is like a 10-year-old boy in a space colony that has declared itself neutral to the war. Like, Side 6. Side 6 is, you saw the Gundam compilation movie. Side 6 is mentioned in that as well. Same cluster, different colony, because sides have multiple colonies in their clusters. So, it's the same side that's like, hey, we don't want anything to do with either of y'all. Y'all keep your distance. Keep the fighting out of here. So
but I think the majority of their interactions are with Zeon, though, right? In terms of like which soldiers come in and out of that colony.
For that kid specifically, yes. So what it is that the Federation actually set up a secret base there, and they're secretly constructing a new Gundam. You know, illegally, considering that it's a neutral colony. And they're constructing a new Gundam to give to Amuro, built specifically around his combat data and with all the newest, highest specs they could give him. And the Cyclops team, the Cyclops team is a group of Zeon commandos who tried to capture the Gundam. That's the cold open. That's the opening scene. They're doing an attack on an Arctic base. They find a space shuttle. They're like, hey, it's got some containers in it. They're loading it on the spaceship. They're in a hurry. I'm pretty sure that's our target. All right, shoot it down. So one of the pilots goes to do that, but he gets shot in the cockpit before he can fire his missile. So he dies, and now the squad is down one member. And the ship escapes to Side 6, and then we cut to our actual main character, the little boy named Alfred. And this has become one of those things to where it's even more relatable as I'm older, because I can look back now. And I hate to frame it this way, but when you grew up in the way that our generation did, and just other generations who either we didn't experience war firsthand, but we grew up in a time period where a war was going on, and in a lot of our media, there was sensationalism around the military. Like, we got countless games like Call of Duty and Medal of Honor, and then, of course, we've already talked about the, overzealous patriotism of the military in the Michael Bay Transformers films. And this kid is going through a lot of that, and I'm like, looking back now, as I'm older, I'm like, a lot of those games I played back then was kind of the same mindset of, yeah, being a soldier is cool, using weapons is awesome. And I'm like, it could make you feel powerful, but the kid doesn't understand the ramifications of the weapons, of what the weapons are for.
This is a story about a child who is completely desensitized to violence and propagandized by war propaganda until shit gets very real for him, and then he finds out what it's actually like.
Like, bro is so unsensitized, like, so desensitized, that, like, at the colony's toy store, they're selling Earth Federation rank badges for, the English dub calls it $1, but I'm like, that's not the currency they use based on the subtitles, but really cheap, because one of the kids, voiced by Melissa Fawn, the actress voiced Rika in Digimon Tamers, comes up and she just whips out this big long chain of them, and I'm like, elementary school kids with pocket money can afford all of them, and like, Alfred's like, yeah, it's a rank badge, it's really cool, it represents the military, like, I kind of want one of those. And then when actual mobile suits show up and are fighting inside the colony because they found out, oh hey, the Gundam's probably there, like, Azaku crashes, he takes off looking for it, finds it, and the pilot climbs out and is, like, pointing his gun at Al because he's like, I'm not supposed to be here because of the treaty, I'm not supposed to have any witnesses, but this kid looks harmless enough. Alfred doesn't even acknowledge that he's literally got a gun pointed at him. He's just like, yeah, let me get all this on my camera. Oh, it's cool. Oh, it's a soldier. Hey, he's got a gun. And just not even bothered that he's being held at a gunpoint. Bro has either no self-preservation, or he has got all of the confidence that he's invincible. So, the Xenon pilot, like, Alfred is just, like, badgering him. He's like, hey, can I see your gun? Can I get inside your Zaku? He's like, no, you can't! Because this is military stuff. You're not supposed to be here. Get out of here. And then he's like, he's got a camera. You weren't supposed to see me. Hey, okay, what if I let you hold my gun? He holds it out to him, but then he pulls a fake and grabs the camera from him, starts combing through the pictures he's got. Okay, that's me. Okay, oh, that's a pretty woman. That's actually the pilot of the Gundam. We'll go into her in just a second. Phrasing. We'll discuss her in a second. And then he's like, what are those containers in there? Pulls the, and then he's like, hey, I can't give you my gun, but you're staring at my pilot's insignia. What if I give you my patch in exchange for the tape and the camera? And Al's like, heck yeah, okay. So it turns out that actually was the Gundam, and the pilot's name is Bernard Wiseman. He gets assigned to the Cyclops team who let the Gundam get away in the first place. So the woman in the pictures, her name is Christina McKenzie. She knows Alfred because she actually was his babysitter when they were both younger. I think she's like 20 at the time of this. You know, Gundam protagonists are often like young adults. But she is in the military, but she has framed it as, I just work on data collection, which is not incorrect because she is a test pilot for the new Gundam, but she was never planned to actually see combat with it. So that'll come into play later. Bernie gets assigned to the Cyclops team. They infiltrate Side 6 under the guise of a civilian transport, and inside the transport that they used was a disassembled mobile suit, the Camphor, you know, the big blue beast that's got shotguns and dual bazookas and all the weapons. I'm sure you've seen it before.
I think so.
So he's assigned to the Cyclops team. Alfred happens to see, like, he's running across the road, almost gets hit by the truck that Bernie's driving, notices Bernie is the one driving it, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna follow these guys. So he follows them back to where they parked their stuff and are assembling the mobile suit, and he's like, hey, Xeon, you guys are pretty cool. If you don't want me to spill the beans on where you are, you'll let me join you. And the captain of the squad is like, kid seems harmless enough. Okay, kid, here. This is our special unit's insignia. It was a wiretap. There was a little speaker inside the badge. So he's keeping it on him at all times, and they're constantly listening in. It's like, okay, he's the one who took the picture of where the Gundam is being held, so maybe he could be useful to us. but we are keeping constant surveillance on him just in case. So eventually things go sideways when they do get to where the Gundam is and they try to infiltrate. Bernie actually has a slip up where they're posing as Federation soldiers, and he puts on a fake Australian accent. And bear in mind, this takes place in December. This is like, I think this specific date is like December 21st or 22nd. It's around that time. So one of the Federation soldiers is like, "Hey, your accent's kind of funny. Sounds Australian." "Oh yeah, born and raised in Sydney." "Oh, is it a nice place?" "Oh yeah, this time of year the city be all covered in snow."
Which is not true for the Southern Hemisphere.
Right. So the soldier thinks nothing of it, walks away. Next thing we see of Alfred also, Bernie told Alfred not to be near the shipping place where the Gundam is being housed because they're going to attack it, but he didn't communicate that to Alfred. So Alfred is like, "I can do what I want. I'm part of this team too." So he infiltrates the building anyway because he's small enough to slip through the vents and all that. And he is outside the room where the Gundam's being held, but he's watching everything through a window. That soldier comes barely down the corridor. "Hey, Sydney boy, it's summertime in Australia right now." And I'm like, Actually, the first thing you should have noticed, he said born and raised in Sydney. You remember that colony that Zeon dropped on Earth? It landed on Sydney. It landed on Sydney. It's a crater now. So, like...
I mean, he could have still been born. I mean, he could have still been born there, but you'd think he would have a little bit more of a volatile reaction. But like,
right.
"Yeah, my home is fucking gone, mate."
Yeah, like maybe that was in like some off-screen conversation, but I feel like if you're gonna say that line, the Federation soldier should have caught him quicker because Zeon, like, Sydney is gone. It is a hole in the ground. It's a hole in the ocean now. Just that gets brought up in 0083, but so. Of course, then, crap hits the fan, gunfight. Meanwhile, like, three members of the Cyclops team are in there having a gunfight. Meanwhile, the fourth member is off in the camp for fighting off the Federation mobile suits inside the colony, trying to draw out the Gundam so they can either destroy it or capture it. The plan was for them to infiltrate it and then hijack it from within the base and then turn it over to Zeon, but of course crap went sideways. Gundam launches and... it manages to destroy the mobile suit that they had, even though it lost, like, all of its heavy armor during the fight. And the last one left standing is Bernie. And Al actually saw the members of the Cyclops team die. He watched the captain die from blood loss, he watched Garcia blow himself up, and Bernie is the last one left standing. And so Al is obviously a little bit shaken by all this, and then the next day when he is going to meet up with Bernie in the woods, he passes through the city. And then he sees that they pulled a kid out of some of the rubble, and he saw that the school had gotten hit during the attack. There's no one there because it was nighttime, but it's like places that he knows are now getting destroyed, and the ramifications of everything is finally setting in for him, and his world is just completely turned on its head. So Bernie gets some information from an informant in the colony that... because the Cyclops team failed to capture or destroy the Gundam, if it is not destroyed by Christmas, the colony is going to get nuked. Everyone is going to die because they don't want that Gundam escaping the colony. Bernie finds out, and he tells Al that that's going to happen. He says, "If you care at all about survival, get your mom, get your dad, get off this colony. There's nothing more that we can do. We failed." Another thing that I just kind of glossed over, Bernie is a rookie pilot. Never shot down a single mobile suit in his life, got shot down his first outing. But this entire time, he's been spinning fanciful tales of his exploits to Al while they're just chilling out.
Right.
He's like, "Yeah, I just need one more kill, then I would have been an ace pilot. I've killed so many people in the battlefield. I didn't want to, but I had to, because if I didn't, they would have killed me. I've watched some of my friends die," things like that. He's been spinning this whole thing, and then he finally has to spill the beans. He's like, I'm a fake. I'm a chump. I suck. I shouldn't have even been on this squad. I'm the only one left standing. I'm getting out of here. I can't fight the Gundam. You saw what happened. That pilot was more skilled than I was, and he's dead." And so he's like, "Al, get your bomb and get out of here, because we've done all we can." So he goes to the spaceport, and he tries to book a flight to a different colony, but hearing some talk from another bystander, who's on the phone chewing out her, I guess it's her husband or ex-husband, for having an affair, saying, "You always lie. You can't even tell the truth." And then he's getting flashbacks to where Alfred was like chewing him out for lying of all that, and he's like, "All right, I guess I'm gonna do this no matter how I can." So he comes back and he's like, "All right, Al, the only real choice we have here is fix up the Zaku, because there's a bunch of wrecked mobile suits throughout the colony. I can scavenge for parts and weapons. We'll put it together and I'll give it one good go and I'll destroy the Gundam. So that way the colony won't get blown up." So you have the Zeon soldier now fighting for the sake of the people in the colony rather than trying to fight for his faction. I mean, yes, he's doing what his faction wants, but it's because if he doesn't, his people are going to do something way worse. Now, Alfred does meet up with Christina again, and he pitches the hypothetical. If you knew that a fleet was going to come and blow up the colony, what would you do? Would you fight or would you run away? And she's like, well, I personally would fight, because if I don't, people I care about might die. But that's not the answer for everybody. A pin in that, we'll come back to that here in a minute. So, Bernie, on Christmas Day, Bernie gets in the Zaku, and he is trying to lure the Gundam out. Alfred goes to the spaceport to meet his dad, who is coming back from a business trip, I think. And he's saying, yeah, it was really crazy. He's like, on our way over here, there's a space battle going on, and there's a Zeon fleet. A couple of the ships got destroyed, and one of the ones that the Federation captured, they were apparently carrying nuclear missiles. They were heading for our colony. The ship carrying the nukes got captured, so Bernie doesn't need to fight anymore. But it's too late. The fight's already on. So, Bernie and the Gundam, being piloted by Christina McKenzie, they go at it. Bernie dies with a beam saber through the cockpit. Christina gets injured. The Gundam is incapacitated for the rest of the war. But, yeah, Bernie is gone. They described his remains as nothing left, a pile of hamburger.
Yeah.
That's a meme that's often used. And Al watched the whole thing go down, and then he also saw when the Gundam's cockpit opened and they pulled out Christina's unconscious body, and she's like got blood on her face from the impact and all that. So, two of her best friends just fought to the death, and neither of them knew. And Bernie and Christina actually had met earlier in the story and were kind of on friendly terms. Like, they weren't close, but it's one of those to where they could have been best friends if this whole thing wasn't going on. And now Al is over here just having an absolute come apart because one of his lifelong friends just killed one of his new friends because of the war that's been going on. And I kind of came to the realization, I think that after all was said and done, Christina knew that Al was in cahoots with Zeon. Because a ship carrying nukes getting stopped outside of a colony, that's not going to stay on the down low. Like, she may not have found out day of, but later she would have found out about that. And Al pitched her the hypothetical, if a fleet was coming, what would you do? How did he know? Unless he was in on it. She had to have found out later. And she's like her world must now be turned upside down as well. So, Gundam's wrecked. She goes back to Earth and is put on rear line duty, again, probably for data collection. The series ends with the principal of their school giving a speech. The building was destroyed, but that can be rebuilt, but the lives lost can never be replaced. So we hope that you, the next generation, will grow up and lead us to a more bright future. And, of course, Al's thinking about the people that he's lost, and his friends who didn't know anything about this, they're also kind of war-obsessed. They're, like, throughout the series, they're like, hey, check it out. We found some of these old, like, these bullet casings. And here's one that was actually from the mobile suit, just carrying around in a bag. And they're like, don't worry, Al, another war will start soon. We'll get to see a lot more cool stuff. And I'm like...
He's like, I don't want to see any... I've had my fill of cool for the rest of my life.
Again, poor kid. Like, jeez. It's one of those things that's where, like, oof.
I have heard and seen great things about War in the Pocket.
Like,
it was made as the 10th anniversary celebration for the Gundam franchise, funny enough. And it's crazy to see. Some people think about the tone of it And it's like, does that make sense as like a celebration of the series? And it's like,
Considering
it
that's
kind
meant,
of does. If
it's meant to
anything,
be
it's
an anti-war
remarkably,
thesis. Yes, yes,
yeah,
and it's
it's the
certainly,
most, probably the most blunt anti-war piece of media the franchise ever had.
and it is way better of an anniversary piece than G Savior was.
Yeah.
I've already given my spill on G Savior a while back.
Mm-hmm.
Oddly enough, I don't know how it's managed to go unblocked, but there is a channel that is called like MSG Universe or something. They post like a lot of Mobile Suit Gundam episodes. War in the Pocket is up in its entirety. All 6 episodes. You can just go watch on YouTube right now. English dub. Just right there. Somehow unblocked up for 2 years.
It's weird that they made a whole YouTube channel dedicated to Salt. Why would they do that?
Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good.
Quick question before you move on. Have you seen Turn A Gundam?
I have not. It is on the list, though, because we're working on the Dynasty Warriors Gundam project. I have tasked myself with watching every Gundam series I have not seen that is in those games, and Turn A is on the list.
Okay.
But see,
what I have been told about Turn A Gundam is that it is the series you watch after watching all of the other ones because it's full of so many references and love letters that it's best enjoyed that way.
It, at one point in time, was considered by many to be the proof of a unified Gundam timeline because you have several mobile suits from different universes appearing, and honestly, I still feel like a form of a unified Gundam timeline could work with a few exceptions. Like, we have to take 00 and throw it out the window completely because it takes place in the year counting system of AD, Anno Domini, which is what we use now, but in the Universal Century timeline, aka the original Gundam and most other Gundam series, in the year 2045, when humanity went to space, that's when they stopped counting AD and started using Universal Century. So, because of that, and because of how the mobile suit technology works, 00 cannot fit in a unified timeline like that. That one goes in the trash where it belongs. But,
I mean, 00 is a good show, but it doesn't fit in the continuity.
I haven't actually seen 00 yet, but based on what I played of Dynasty Warriors Gundam, I cannot stand Setsuna. Bro is like the... Is he the or is he the second most annoying Gundam protag that I've ever heard? Based on the games, he's up there. Like, having...
Oh, yeah, no, I like what I've seen. I mean, I like 00 more than Seed.
Seed is basically The Force Awakens, but Gundam.
Yeah.
Like,
also, Gundam 00 has a soundtrack by Kenji Kawai.
I feel like I should know that name.
Is the Dean composer.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
You have my attention.
Good music.
You have my attention. You have my attention, now you have my interest. Okay. But I did put it to a vote, and my audience said I should watch Seed and see Destiny first. Although I might actually have to break sequence, because as Seed is to Mobile Suit Gundam is The Force Awakens, Seed Destiny is Zeta Gundam in that way. So I think I need to actually finish all of Zeta and not just play the games to actually get a feel for, like, hey, what is this? How is it different? What did they just blatantly rip off, etc. But before we get into those, 0083 Stardust Memory. This is actually probably my favorite. Like, I love 8th MS Team because it has a lot of realism with its combat. It's like, your Gundam gets damaged, that has an effect on the rest of the series. Like, oh, my Gundam lost its beam rifle. Oh, I'm stuck with a machine gun for the rest of the show. Oh, this Gundam guy's head punched off, replace it with a gym head. Oh, this Gundam got ripped to pieces, patch it back together in the middle of the battlefield. Yeah. Things like that. Like, I love 8th Team for its realism like that. Oh, this guy got wounded? He's going to be out of the show for, like, in-universe at least a couple of weeks. And that actually does have ramifications on the rest of the crew. So on and so forth. But 0083, it is a borderline perfect work. Like, I use that term a little loosely. It's just one of those things that's where I have a single major complaint with it. Which, if you watch my channel, you probably already know what that is, but we'll get to that in a minute. Do you have something to say before I begin my spiel on this?
No, again, this one has been on the list for years. I remember, um,
Ben at the Sage?
God, what was the anecdote? Yeah, what was the anecdote for Ben at the
Top
Sage?
Gun, but Gundam.
Yeah.
I've never seen Top Gun, so I don't care.
Well, I get you probably have absorbed enough of it through cultural osmosis to know the comparisons.
Highway to the danger zone.
I did not know until that point that Stardust Memory had a Toonami run. I didn't know.
It didn't actually. It was on. It had a Toonami version that was heavily censored and could have aired on daytime TV. But it was relegated to Adult Swim Action. It never actually got on the official Toonami block, but it was slated to be. But again, because 9/11 and the whole shift in what they're allowed to show on daytime TV, especially for kids, changed after that, 0080 got relegated to just Adult Swim, even though there was a Toonami-friendly version ready to go. Like, if you watch the broadcasts from Adult Swim, it says Y7 in the corner. And having watched some of the censored clips, which I'll go over, like, I have a really, really funny moment for that. I'll go over that here in a sec. But it could have aired on daytime TV with no problem at all, in the form that they gave us on Adult Swim. Which
he might have said Adult Swim in the anecdote. I sometimes use the two interchangeably in my mind because of the reboot of Toonami, which was functionally just Adult Swim.
Yeah,
anyway,
Toonami Action,
or like they're kind of
Toonami Midnight
Run in my head.
Adult Swim Action, Toonami Midnight Run, and then their reboot is on like the same time slot. Yeah.
To me, there's I know this is not entirely accurate, but to me, there's two distinct time periods. There's the 1999 through 2002 Toonami era, which was Dragon Ball Z and Gundam Wing and Transformers Armada and Zoids and Tenchi Muyo and stuff like that. And then there was I dipped out of that scene, did not revisit it until 2007, 2008, when Adult Swim was Death Note, Trigun, Cowboy Bebop, etc.
Cowboy Bebop was running on Adult Swim, even back in the early 2000s, 2001, 2002. It was in its initial lineup, but it has staying power.
That was how I perceived it at the time. Yeah.
Speaking of that, because I know Master Chief is still in the chat, I have been watching Cowboy Bebop, and maybe it's just because I've been taking long breaks in between episodes, just because Bree and I are watching it together. I haven't been completely floored by it the way a lot of people prop it up as this pillar of anime. It's still great. I've enjoyed just about every episode, but I haven't just been blown away yet. And I've got 3 episodes left, I think. I just got done with the Feng Shui episode, and then I think I got 3 more, then the series is over. And again, I've been enjoying my time. I really have. I love the animation, the music is great, and the voice cast is all-star. But it's just another very great 90s anime, but I feel like it's one of those things like Dragon Ball Z, to where it's more remembered for the spectacle of the time and the influence that it had on anime's presence on the whole, rather than just taking it in a vacuum. Does that make sense? At least that's the way that I've been absorbing it. Maybe it'll get better after another rewatch, but again, I'm not disliking it at all. I just haven't been completely floored by anything in it yet.
Yeah.
All right. So, 0083 Stardust Memory. This takes place 3 years after the end of the original war, and the opening is actually the final battle of the war, where we're introduced to our main 2 antagonists. Agil Delaz, who is the leader of the Delaz fleet, who is a Zeon splinter group, and Anival Gato, Zeon ace pilot. So Agil Delaz, his thing is that Zeon went into hiding after the end of the war. Those who didn't stay inside 3 and side with the Republic of Zeon to peacefully reintegrate with Earth Federation society or suffer whatever they were being charged for the war crimes, you had a group that ran off to their asteroid base called Axis. And that's where the Zeon remnants from Zeta Gundam come from. So they're over there. Meanwhile, the Delaz fleet kind of stays on the down low, and they're still in the Earth sphere, and they are planning their uprising. So we fast forward 3 years later to the Torrington base in Australia, which would also be revisited in Gundam Unicorn. Okay. Um, and we get a group of Federation test pilots, and they're testing out some new upgraded gyms and some Zaku's, and then a couple of Gundams arrive on a Pegasus-class warship, and on board is one of the people who's in charge of the development. I think she's in charge of data collection, but she is working on the project. Her name is Nina Purpleton. She's from Anaheim Electronics. They are an arms dealer on the moon who builds weapons for both the Federation and Zeon. And the whole morality of Anaheim is really a subject of debate in the Gundam fandom. And their stance on who is right, who's wrong in the Federation Zeon War and so on, they don't really care, because they're kind of in the middle. It's like Earth, like the moon is one of Earth's satellites. It orbits them, but they're still in space, so they do have some more, the people who live in space should have their independence. Like, that's how Zeon framed their original war, even though they're just like, hey, war crimes. And people who live on the moon kind of have this attitude of, we don't really condone the war crimes, but we also don't like the Earth asserting dominance like that. We want to just exist. So that's kind of where her mentality is, kind of, sort of. But she is part of the Gundam testing project. And so the assault carrier Albion parks at the base. Gato shows up wearing a Federation uniform to sneak in, and he hijacks Gundam GPO-2 Physalis, which is armed with a nuclear bazooka, and it's got really heavy armor and giant thrusters so that it can just be an independent assault unit that can shoot nukes at things. First of all, the construction of this mobile suit was pretty sure was a violation of the Antarctic Treaty, because that forbids nuclear weapons. But they're like, well, y'all built it anyway, it's free real estate. The pilot Ko Uraki, the main protag, gets the Gundam GPO-1 to go after him. He does manage to stall his escape by destroying the craft that will take him back into space. And so then, after having lost 2 or 3 of their pilots, now the Albion has to wait for reinforcements to show up. And they manage to track the stolen Gundam to Africa, and they're inside this they're inside this dormant volcano, or maybe it's a hollowed out mountain, I'm not exactly sure, but they launch it's called an HLV. It's a capsule used for both re-entry and for exiting the atmosphere, and they launch the Gundam back into space, and Uraki goes after, or the whole Albion is following the stolen Gundam back into space. And then the entire time, while this is going on, we're hearing in the background that the Federation brass are, they're in a massive tizzy. They're like, holy crap, Zeon is back and they stole a nuke. Our nuke, first of all. So, yeah, that Gundam is extremely dangerous. Yes, we want data collection, but it's armed with a nuke. If you can't get it back, blow it up. Get rid of it. Especially since...
because not only could it be a disaster in terms of the lives lost, but it could also reignite the war. Right. Because it's a violation of the treaty, right?
Right, and that's how Delaz spins it when he gets the Gundam and he is shooting a video in front of it. Hey, to all our Zeon loyal, and also to the Federation cronies who are listening in on this, we stole this Gundam. This Gundam was built by the Federation, and they have a nuke with it, so it's clear that they're the bad guys by asserting dominance. They're T-posing on all the colonies with this massive nuke, just kind of hovering it over us, being like, yeah, we're being very militaristic, and we're just asserting our dominance over the space colonies, even though we should have our independence. We're the good guys here. Completely skewing the narrative, even though he's not entirely wrong about the Federation getting more militaristic and being more corrupt at this point in the timeline. That does not put Zeon in the right either. Again, war crime central. People often call Zeon space Nazis. That's not wrong. That's deliberately what Tomino intended, especially if you watch the original. Yeah. In the English dub, there's some characters who have a German accent, and there's one episode specifically where a couple spies infiltrate the white base, and one says to the other, hey, don't say anything, your accent gives you away. He has a German accent. Yeah. Their helmets look like German helmets. A lot of their mobile suits are named after German words, and they're literally gassing space colonies. It's War Crime City. the sovereign of Zeon, Dagon Zabi, looked at his son, Giran. Giran is over here doing a lot of stuff, and he's like, bro, you're literally turning into Hitler. And then he's like, ah, cool. So when people call Zeon space Nazis, and then other people will be like, oh, that's reductive and missing the point. No, it's not. It's literally not. That's literally what it is.
It's like not even subtext.
It's not subtext. It's just here in your face. Because, again, it's meant to be anti-war, and it's meant to show the dangers of how, like, both sides can suck, which we get into with the Federation really sucks in Stardust Memory, because they end up caring more about, again, their own political power and skewing things to, like, they care more about saving face than doing what's right. And eventually, we do get to the point to where, yes, Gato does take the Gundam, and he fires the nuke and blows up a Federation fleet with it. And then Uraki finally manages to catch up to Gato, and both Gundams get destroyed in this fight, which, fantastic on Uraki for leveling up his piloting skills to be able to throw hands with the Nightmare of Solomon at this point. But so, after that, they're like, okay, yeah, they fired the nuke, so, well, Albion failed to stop them, we lost a bunch of people. But now the Delos fleet is probably not a threat because they just played their final ace. And then Gato shows up with the new mobile armor. He's like, surprise. And they're like, yeah, we're going to hijack these space colonies and we're going to make them crash into each other. One of them just kind of spins off into nowhere. The other one looks like it's being drawn towards the moon. And then you get Shima Garahao. She is a rabbit hole in and of herself in terms of, like, her backstory motivations, which I'll get to in a second. But she's also a snake in the grass. Like, she's a snake to everybody. So she manages to convince someone who has a lot of pull in the lunar city of Von Braun. I don't remember what his name is or what his role actually is, but she basically contacts him and is like, well, the colony is drifting your way. If you do nothing, the colony is going to crash into your city. So your only real option is to use your beam cannons to ignite the propellant and cause it to go that way. And then it'll get drawn in by Earth's gravity. So anything that happens, it's on your head. It's either you let the moon get destroyed or you let it fall on Earth. Take your pick. So the colony is now drifting towards Earth, and the Albion is like, what if I told you there's a third Gundam? And Uraki is like, third Gundam, you say. So they go to pick up the third Gundam, but Nina doesn't have jurisdiction over this one because while it's part of the Gundam project, she didn't have her hands directly in it. But the thing is, that's the only thing that could stand up to the remnants of the Delos fleet at this point, because it's a Gundam with a mobile armor attachment. It's got, like, giant missile launchers, anti-ship sized beam sabers, massive beam cannons, and an eye field which deflects beams. It's just a beautiful, fantastic beast of a mobile armor. But because bureaucracy and red tape, the Albion couldn't just take it. They literally have to defy orders and, like, not go AWOL, but they have to effectively pull guns on the current Federation higher-ups that are at the Lavian Rose, where the Gundam is parked, and be like, we're taking it and you can't stop us, because we have to stop the Delos fleet. We're the only ones who can stop the colony if we have that Gundam, so we're skipping all your military politics and we're just doing the right thing here. Which does have ramifications later. It really does. So then Uraki and Gato meet up in the battlefield again. They're like, oh, you got a new toy. But we're kind of at an impasse here because we're both beam-proof. I'm shooting beams at you, you're shooting beams at me, they're bouncing off. Okay, so what if I just destroy your force field generator? What you gonna do about that? And then the colony drifts to the point to where it can't be veered away from Earth anymore. Like, it's going to hit the Earth no matter what they do. But at that point in time, another segment of the Earth Federation had set up, it's called the Solar Flare System. You said you watched the movie, you remember the Battle of Solomon, they had all those reflecting mirrors. That's like, hey, here's a super sunlight. The sun is a deadly laser. Let's set it up in a cross-shaped formation this time, blast the colony and vaporize it before it can hit the Earth. Oh, that wasn't strong enough. Oh, so we deliberately delayed our own forces from interfering so that we could flex on them with this new thing, but that thing didn't work. Oh no! Oh dear. So the colony smashes through the mirrors, and it's now caught in Earth's gravity well. Gato goes inside the colony and puts in the final course corrections, And then the whole time, not the whole time, after like the midpoint in the series, Nina has been dropping hints that she has some baggage that's unresolved. And we finally get the bombshell in like 2 episodes ago, before this one. She and Gato used to be an item.
Mm-hmm.
And she steals the core fighter from the Albion to go into the colony, and tries to stop Gato from changing the course to make it land somewhere else. And Gato is like, Nina, I told you to forget about me. I am a complete puppet to the laws. I have no personality of my own. I just keep spouting the same rhetoric about Zeon's ideals, and I am non-existent as a character. I'm more of a concept than anything. I wanted you to find happiness and to forget about me, so you should just leave. You shouldn't even be here. And then Uraki shows up, puts a bullet in Gato's side, and he's like, so they got a little standoff going, and while Uraki is ready to shoot Gato and end it, Nina takes the gun that Gato put on the counter and holds Ko up at gunpoint and tells him to back off. I didn't mention this part yet because it's its own string, but ever since like the midpoint of the series, Nina and Ko have kind of been an item. Not kind of, they were an item. So it started off as, oh hey, you work on the Gundam for data collection, I'm the Gundam pilot, I provide the data for you. It's a work-friend relationship at first, but then time goes on, and we actually see a natural, organic relationship develop between them, and it is very believable, and it's actually very wholesome, and it's not ham-fisted over the top like a lot of Gundam romances. Like, there's no, oh, new type kinship because we're space psychics, we understand each other so deeply, we saw each other once and we're madly in love. There's no Romeo and Juliet nonsense. It is a thing of, we spent weeks together and we grew as a couple because we knew each other, and we got to know each other over time, and just feelings happened. And then now Nina suddenly caught feelings for her old flame who told her to leave, and she is pointing the gun at Ko, telling him knock it off, when Gato is objectively the bad guy here. You've heard people say that Nina Purpleton is like one of the worst characters in Gundam. That's why. That is why. That is the one complaint I have about this series.
I had to like quickly look up who directed
Stardust Memory,
because I almost thought it was Shinichiro Watanabe by the description of the love triangle.
The thing is, I have heard conflicting reports on whether or not this was a last-minute addition. There's evidence to support it, because Nina hears the name Gato when he steals the Gundam initially, but doesn't have a reaction. She sees him getting into the Gundam, but doesn't have a major reaction to it. It's not even really until midway through the series, about exactly midway through the series, like episode 6 out of like 13, where she finally is showing that she does have baggage, or that it's hinted that it might be connected to Zeon in some way. And I just recently finished a rewatch, too. This is one of those things where I feel like if you simply remove that one thing, you could have the rest of it ultimately unchanged, because 083 is actually an in-between-quel, because Zeta Gundam was made first, and 083 serves as a bridge between the One-Year War and Zeta. So the events of Zeta were already written. They were already going to happen. And 083 does show us how we got there, but you didn't need the Nina love triangle. You could have written it out completely.
Yeah. Weird prequel problems, I guess.
Yeah, it's one of those things to where it doesn't add anything to make Nina the traitor. All you did was make us mad at her. And nothing would be lost if you just removed that subplot.
Yeah.
You could literally frame it as Nina doesn't go to the Albion, or doesn't go to the colony. Gato's there putting in the coordinates. Suddenly he hears the door open. Oh, there's a Federation soldier there. And then they have a small shootout, and then they both go back to their mobile suits after narrowly escaping because the colony is about to crash into Earth. They need to get out of there. And then you just get the rest of the series go on the way it does. So Uraki and Gato have one final showdown. This is one thing that could possibly change if you were to remove Nina from it, because Gato's already accomplished his mission. Why is he going back to finish off Uraki in a 1v1 unless it is absolutely personal? Maybe it is personal because he's like, you actually put forth the effort to get strong enough to take me on in a mobile suit duel, and you destroyed my new toy back at Solomon after I used the nuke. So you destroyed my Gundam. You're a blight on my record. I got to set this right. Unless it is that, then I don't really see why Gato would have this final confrontation of him if Nina is not involved. But so Gato gets the upper hand, is ripped the Gundam Unit 3 apart, and he's got it pinned. He's about to blast it, but then suddenly they see something, like they see a lens flare off to the distance. What's that? The Federation fleet is firing the solar system again, despite their own people being in the line of fire. And Gato does get caught in the blast, but his mobile armor isn't destroyed, it's just heavily damaged. And Uraki does escape alive. Gato had to flee, but on his way back to rejoin with the Axis fleet, there's just a wall of Federation ships waiting for him and any others. They say to the remnants of the Delaz fleet, you got nothing left to fight with. Stand down, we'll take you prisoner, you don't need to die here. But they're like, no, we're Viva la Revolution, we're escaping. Alright, Cowabunga it is. Fires the missiles. And, like, all of the surviving Delaz fleet soldiers just get blown up. Gato included. And Stardust Memory ends with Uraki on trial for stealing the Gundam, and he's sentenced to 1 year of hard labor, but because the Federation wanted to try to sweep some of their war crimes under the rug, and use this as an excuse to give rise to the Titans, Uraki was acquitted of all charges, but the captain of the Albion was executed by lethal injection for treason, and the rest of the Albion crew was assigned to the Titans, which, if you didn't know this, the Titans are the Earth Federation, but fully militaristic, and are doing the same crap that Zeon was doing during the 1 Year War, including gassing colonies, but they're now like, oh, it's okay when we do it because we're the good guys. At least we're not as bad as them over there. But they're using the same ham-fisted militaristic tactics. And Uraki's back on Earth, and then Nina shows up, gives him a smile, and the last frame we end on is her smiling at him. As if she didn't just pull the ultimate betrayal.
Interesting.
There's some of the characters that I kind of glossed over. Like, Shima Garahao deserves her own video here because there's a lot to unpack with her. But... And I got a video planned for Anivo Gato as well. Like I said, bro's got next to no actual personality. He's just kind of a puppet and a parrot for Delaz. So I feel like he is not a good character, but he's a fantastic concept. He is great for the concept of, like, blind patriotism and overzealotry to the cause. He's the guy who is totally dedicated and will parrot everything that his higher-ups say to him, but will not actually have an original thought of his own, but he happens to be good with weapons, so that's what makes him incredibly dangerous. So yeah, Gato, he's got a whole lot of charisma. I'll give him that. He has a way of rallying people together like nobody's business. But again, bro has no personality. Whew.
This concludes our Gundam marathon.
Aside from a few small notes about Dynasty Warriors Gundam, yeah, that's about all I got for that. Which, again, I'll save most of my Dynasty Warriors Gundam thoughts for our actual videos on it. Only other thing I want to say about that is the other game I've been playing on the side is Fate Extella, and because they're both Muso games, the skill is transferable between the two. Like, the button layouts are almost exactly the same. But I'll go into that here in a sec. If you don't mind, I'm going to take a minute to catch up chat. So Isaac says, need to watch the original Gundam series. Not too interested, but it's a hallmark. And want to play the Dynasty Warriors Gundam games with some context, so that's great. Master Chief dropped us a like. Thank you very much. Zeon X Pilot Gato from AA3 did appear in Dynasty Warriors Gundam as an NPC. And in Dynasty Warriors Gundam 3, he was finally playable. I didn't know he was in the first game. I need to get on that. I've been playing 2 mostly, because that's the one that I have on PS2, and that's the one that I played when I was younger. So, I'm going to play 1 here soon. I did pop it in to test it if the disc was working fine the other day. I did notice a couple of differences in controls right off the bat, but again, I'll go into that later. Gato did not appear in Dynasty Warriors Gundam 2. Correct. I have played that game enough to know Gato's not in that. And I don't. Uraki's not in the first or second game either. I think he's only playable in the third. Whew. Yeah, that's my little ramble on the Cartoon Network era, or early Cartoon Network era Gundam series, the UC OVAs, and I love them to death. Again, the only real problem I have with Stardust Memory is the whole Nina love triangle, which really didn't need to happen. Like it does not add anything. And in the grand scheme of things,
Yeah,
it doesn't really detract. Like nothing would be lost if you removed it either. So it's just kind of pointless.
yeah, I do intend on watching all three of those at some point. They are the Gundam series I'm probably the most curious about outside of what I've already consumed and rewatches and stuff like that. Because even amongst what I have seen, it's been so long, and there's very very little of like Gundam Wing and Gundam Seed that I remember. Very little of Double O that I remember.
And these specifically are not on the current streaming services. Like you can't go to Crunchyroll, you can't go to Netflix. They're not there. So this is this is one of those where physical media comes in clutch yet again.
Yeah, except for the fact that with Gundam, it was always weird because it was always hard to find physical copies of the Gundam series over here, and some of them either didn't get them or they were like really expensive, like collector's editions and stuff like that. So there are certain series where like I don't think I've ever seen physical of Gundam Wing, Seed, or Double O in the wild. Maybe Double O, but
Seed, yes. My brother at one point had like almost all of Gundam Seed Destiny. Come to think of it, I don't know if he actually got them like in the wild or ordered them online. I'm pretty sure he picked up at least one or two copies from like Best Buy or something from back in the day. I collected my copies of the original Mobile Suit Gundam piecemeal. A couple of them I did get in store, but most of them by the time I had money, I did have to order them online. I remember I did have the 8th MS Team Anime Legends Edition back when I was in college, and I loaned it to a classmate, and then that classmate dropped out, and I never saw that DVD again. So then I had to collect them piecemeal after the fact. But I do have the whole series again, just not the same edition of it.
Yeah, and then the Gundam Unicorn OVAs were also atrocious to try to find because those were like, it was like 7 Blu-rays at like $40-50 per copy to get the whole thing. It was awful. I think I still to this day only have Volume 1 and 2 of Gundam Unicorn.
It's Type Moon all over again. It's the Ufotable Fate Works. Actually, not even just Ufotable. Fate Apocrypha is like that.
No, because I at least like that those are like the entire season as one product that you buy, as opposed to like having to buy 7 individual things to finish the series.
Fair enough. I guess it's more like the Heaven's Feel movies then. But then again, that's only 3 instead of 7.
But yeah, I'm going to try to speed through some of the stuff I want to talk about because it is getting really, really friggin' hot in my game room right now, and this light I have on is just beating down on me, so I'm getting like really hot.
Yeah, y'all can probably hear my window unit going in the background.
No, I can't. I luckily cannot hear it, but yeah.
Nice.
All right, so I'm gonna explain this picture that I showed you. I'm gonna if you could pull up that picture I sent you for your chat there.
I'll have to put a pause on our screen capture for a second so I can pull it up in Discord.
And I wonder if I can change my window to... Yeah. Alright, so the, like, 2 of you that are watching my stream can now see this image.
I'm sorry, 1 sec. Streamlabs being a little bit slow.
Alright, any idea what this is?
I did see the file name when I downloaded it, so yes, I halfway know what it is.
So what this is for the viewers is this is the game Jak and Daxter: The Precursor Legacy on PS2 running Half-Life.
Huh?
And so it is Half-Life's gameplay with the same physics of Gold Source in first person and everything, but you are going through Jak and Daxter's environments with with Jak and Daxter's objectives and everything like that. This is a really hilarious mod because of a couple of really popular uh, recompilation projects that have been going on. I'm gonna switch Windows back over now that you all have seen this. I should not have done that. Let me see here. Now we are scaled down. Okay, there we go. So have you been following any of these recompilation projects?
Not really. The only thing that I've really heard a couple of things tossed around is this game is getting a native PC port because it's been completely decompiled. That game's doing the same. Like, I know Mario 64 was a while back. I heard the Star Fox 64 just did recently. And Ocarina of Time either just finished or they just had to get put on hold because Nintendo just announced the remake and they want to fly under the radar for a little bit. It was one of those two. But that's the closest I've heard anything about this.
Yeah, so that's basically it. And I wish I had done a little bit more research because this was more fresh in my head when I made the note for this to be a topic several weeks ago. And since then, it's kind of faded from my memory. But I have seen some absolutely hilarious videos of this. And I think it is a really cool project that a lot of games have sort of gone under. So there are a lot of games where when they talk about doing these remasters or these ports or these remakes, etc., and remasters are just enhancing the existing game. It's not a from the ground remake in most cases.
Right.
So a remaster would like to use the original assets from the game and run them in a higher quality, increase the game's performance, maybe touch up some of the assets, etc. But there's a lot of instances where those remasters do not have the source code for the game, and the source code have been lost. There's a lot of instances where that's the case. So with Final Fantasy X HD, there was missing source code to where some of the assets had to be remade from scratch. With the Spyro Reignited trilogy, they actually had zero source code from the original, and how they made the Spyro Reignited trilogy was that game ended up going from being a remaster to a from the ground remake because they did actually have to remake every single level, geometry, physics, everything from scratch because they had nothing from the original games to go off of. And part of that is like a rights issue because of Vivendi Universal maintaining the rights to Spyro after Insomniac got to the PS2 era and started making Ratchet and Clank and all that.
Yeah.
And they didn't have, Insomniac sure as fuck didn't have the code for Spyro at that point. But it's like
Capcom
playing the original game and watching the trying to get the physics and like the glide distance exact to the original and replicate the movement exactly to where it's as close as possible to the original. It's really, really hard to do, and they deserve a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, but Capcom, take notes when you do the Mega Man Game Boy Legacy Collection. Do this. Give us Mega Mania, because that's what we were promised way back when. Enhanced ports of the Game Boy versions. And y'all don't have the source code either, so rebuild it from the ground up. Step up, Capcom. Do it.
Yeah, and it's really wild that it was Toys for Bob that did that, because I think that is a studio that almost exclusively just made like kidware type games prior to that. And so
Toys for Bob.
What they did on the Spyro Reignited trilogy was pretty admirable. But and then on the other end of the spectrum of games where the developers will just release the entire source code to the public.
Right.
So most of the old school first-person shooters are like this. So the Wolfenstein 3D engine has a source port, so Wolfenstein 3D, and then later Rise of the Triad, which is built off of it, is completely open source, and so people can play that at like ridiculous resolutions and stuff. It was never meant to be played at. I guess I guess what is considered id Tech 1 is the Doom engine, and the Doom engine has done some absolutely hilarious stuff with it being open source. There's so many different source ports of Doom,
Yep.
and different versions
Chex
of it. They've
Quest.
they've added uh yeah, Chex Quest was probably like a regular mod back in the day, but yeah, that's the example.
It's compatible with
Um,
Brutal Doom.
the fact that Doom over the years has gotten like a vertical up in like 360-degree mouse look and jumping, and then the whole Brutal Doom mod that was popular in the 2010s, and all the crazy stuff that's happened more recently, and like there are one of the source ports of Doom called GZ Doom
Mm-hmm.
is responsible for several entire games built off of it. So there is a couple of uh, old school retro boomer shooters called Hedon, I think, where you play as like an orc with a crossbow. Basically, it's a really cool like medieval fantasy shooter type of game. That's all built on GZ Doom. There's a game called Sulaco, which may or may not be an Alien reference. I'm not sure. That's a sci-fi shooter uh, that is built on GZ Doom and all that stuff. So there's this game engine from 1993 is still being used to make new games released in like 2023, 2024, etc. Um, and the Quake engine had source ports and stuff like that. There's various different versions of that. But all these old console games getting decompiled and getting their source codes accessed and then recompiled and optimized is like this really advanced project that I wish I understood more about, but I just don't know that much about coding to understand how it all works.
Right.
But it's really, really cool, and it's allowed for projects like Mario 64 that runs at 60 frames per second.
Yep. And then you
And
got like 8-person multiplayer, and you got different game modes and all of
yeah,
that.
yeah, and then one of the latest ones, like I said, is the Jack and Daxter one, which just looks phenomenal. Again, it runs at 60 FPS. I don't know if they've done multiplayer on Jack and Daxter one, but they have done like the Half-Life mod, and there's a Sonic mod as well on there. But there's a lot of extremely cool projects along this line. So there is a Sonic Unleashed one, I think, where they are trying to rebuild Sonic Unleashed completely from scratch, and I think that's going to be a pretty exciting project when they get around to that. But because me and Michelle were talking about this the other day with some people, I don't remember who we were talking to about it, but we were saying that we need more remakes of like mediocre and bad games than we do of good games. But the
Yeah,
problem is
make them better.
a bad game remade good is not as likely to sell as a good game remade good.
Yeah,
So
because
I
like
was
if
saying,
it
like
sucked the
Sonic,
first time, why would I want to spend money on it the second time? I definitely understand the
yeah,
psychology behind it. Yes.
yeah, but like Sonic 06 is really the perfect example of a game that could be remade better, where if it was just polished and didn't have all of the jank, maybe had some like minor things tweaked with the level design,
And
it could
and
be a
with
hell of a lot better than what it is.
the whole love interest being a human.
Yeah, there might not. Maybe me and Michelle were talking about this. Like, there might not be any saving that story necessarily, but like, if people are interested in the story from like a it's so bad it's good standpoint, then you can fix the gameplay and patchwork that into a playable game. Funny enough, Bubsy 3D
Bubsy 40.
was patchworked into a better game, and that is incredible to me because like the remaster of that game is again nobody would have ever imagined that one of the worst 3D platformers of all time could have been made into a playable game, but it was. Um, Also, the learning about the development of that game was kind of heartbreaking because that was a very early example of the publisher having zero patience. It was Atari, I think, at the time, having zero patience for the developers because the developers there was no Crash Bandicoot, there was no Mario 64, there was no Sonic's ass engine as it was called internally by Naughty Dog when they're making Crash Bandicoot. Um, it they didn't know what a 3D platform was going to look like. They were doing their best with Bubsy 3D, and then like CES of that year, they saw Crash Bandicoot and they saw Mario 64, and they were like, "Dude, we have to delay. Like those games are going to destroy us when they come out."
And
And
they
they were
did.
like, "No,
And
shit,
they did.
we're out of time." So and so they released a game that they knew they were not happy with,
and
Bubsy 3D.
This is in the age before everything could be fixed with a day one patch. This is, if your game is crappy when it ships, it's crappy forever.
Yeah. So yeah, I love all these decompilations, recompilations, and I wish I probably will do a deeper dive and learn more about them, but I think they're really cool. I'm looking at a list right now that shows a lot of the different ports. So like there's again Super Mario 64, Alien vs Predator 2. There's a couple of Castlevania fan ROMs. I'm very curious as to what Celeste 64 is. That sounds cursed, and I really want to know. I think a lot of the rareware, what do you call it? N64 games are in that category. So GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, Donkey Kong 64, etc. are all also in that category of games that have had their the PC source ports that run well at 60 FPS and have crazy mods and stuff. And Ocarina of Time, like you mentioned, where like there's the crazy skins in Ocarina of Time that are like replacing Link with Waluigi or whatever and doing dumb shit like that.
Alright, so Celeste 64 is a 2024 3D platformer developed by a Canadian indie studio called Extremely OK Games for Linux, Mac OS, and Windows. It doesn't look like it uses any like direct source code from any existing Nintendo games, but they did post their source code on GitHub, making it freely available.
Okay, I'll take a look at it. There's a couple of Mega Man games in the list here. There's the Marathon trilogy has the Aleph 1 ports, which are very famous and basically the best way of playing those games. Yeah, Perfect Dark PC port. The Persona 3 FES HD overhaul.
I heard that
famous.
GoldenEye's abandoned Xbox Live Arcade HD remaster recently got decompiled, and they're working on fixing making it playable, completing the game effectively.
Yeah. But yeah, that was just a little tangent I wanted to go on. I just thought that the clips of people again running Half-Life through Jak and Daxter, I just thought was so funny, especially as somebody who's a big fan of both of those games.
Yeah.
I am gonna skip my next thing really quick and talk about some games that I played recently.
Right.
If that's cool with you.
Yeah. Given how much time we're at, I might need to put the Flame Pole mark in the back burner and just come back next month with at least 2 of the 3 Routes of Fate Extella finished, if not all 3 of them.
2 of the 4.
4. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Forgot about the final chapter. Yeah.
Yeah, the most important one. So. I have finished a couple of video games, as you might have expected, knowing me.
Heck yeah.
So, I had a little bit of a games marathon a couple of Sundays ago, where I played a bunch of games for the first time, just to be like, okay, MomoCon is over, my Cosplay Crunch season is over, I've done a bunch of other stuff, I've gotten like some model kits out of my backlog, basically like doing all the stuff that I have to normally put off doing so much due to work and due to Cosplay Crunch and everything else. I'm making videos. I had finished the Dragon Quest Heroes video, so I'm like, I have some free time to kill for myself before I start getting footage for Fire Emblem Warriors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So did a little games marathon. It was really fun. It was on a Sunday afternoon, and I hooked up the Wii U, and I played a little bit of the Wii Transformers Prime game.
How was that?
For the first time, and play a little bit of the Wii Transformers War for Cybertron game a little bit, just to kind of get the feel of those.
I completely forgot about War for Cybertron on Wii.
Yeah, the War for Cybertron rail shooter.
Rail shooter. Yeah.
I won't go into too much about them, but they both were pretty fun. They both surpassed my expectations, and I'm definitely looking forward to doing the videos on those.
Coming soon from Starcross Souls, Transformers Retrospective #2.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if again, those other games, I don't know if it's going to be like one video where I talk about all of them a little bit, or if they're each going to get their own video. I think it depends on how much I like them.
Yeah, it's
Because
also going to depend on
and
like how
maybe at
much
the
you just
very
have to
least,
say about them. Because like again, I've been
yeah,
working on the Dynasty Warriors Gundams games over here, and I don't really know when I do my own video how much am I going to have to say about all of them. Like, can I put them all in one video and it be concise, or does each one need its own in-depth analysis? Because comparing 1 to 2, I could definitely see some differences, but they're more similar than different. Gameplay is almost unaffected in between games. It's going to matter how's the story, what all does it really improve from them. So
yeah.
kind of a similar thing. Different games, but it's a thing of how much do you have to say, and can you just kind of put it under an umbrella, like just be like, hey,
Yeah,
forgotten
I think
Transformers games.
what I might do is produce the videos individually and then decide after they're done if they can be compiled together or released separately. But I think for the Wii games, they might don't quote me on this now. I might change my mind, but they could be
Right.
an individual video on their own. The TF Prime game is pretty okay. The only weird thing about it is it heavily relies on the motion controls, so you actually have to do this with the Wii remote to do your melee attack.
Eh.
Um, and then the other gameplay is pretty rudimentary. There's like a simple like lock on and shoot, and you can do the sort of like vehicle mode, quick transform out and jump over an obstacle thing, similar to the Revenge of the Fallen game, but not too similar. But it is one of those things of like having to go like this to get your character to do their melee attack has a bit of a lack of feedback to it. And it's just a weird artifact of the Wii era. Also, the fact that it like demands that you have like it's like Wiimote nunchuck specifically. There's like no other
Yeah.
controller configuration that works with that game.
That's the reason I haven't played the Dead Rising Wii port yet,
Yeah.
because it's motion controls, and I'm like, ugh.
Now that being
I
said,
have it. I have the game.
yeah. Now that being said, the Cybertronian Adventures, the Wii version of War for Cybertron was quite fun actually. Um, the what what they did is they took the opening FMV for the opening CG cutscene for the PS3 and 360 version of War for Cybertron, and they just play that shit compressed. They're like compress that video file out and put that sucker on that disc and play it. It's the
Glorious
same opening, and I'm
240p.
like, yeah, I'm like, oh, this is cute. It's the same opening.
2005
crusty.
YouTube looking at.
Yeah, it's not that bad, but it is like it is crusty. It's the same kind of crusty as like the movie clips would have been in like the
Lord of the Rings
PS2
games
version of the movie game. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, uh,
So it's not Sega.
that
It's not Sega CD at least.
yeah, it's better than that. But I did think it was cute. Where I'm like, oh, they didn't even bother with an original opening for this game. I guess if you only ever this is just Activision's approach at the time, because
Yeah.
when Activision did like a AAA game, it had to be on everything during this era. It was like consoles, PC, Wii, DS, GBA. There were Call of Duty games on the GBA and the DS and the PSP and on all this shit, and it was on everything. And in a big, movie licensed property like Transformers, it was going to be on everything. So I guess if all you had was a Wii and you didn't know that the 360, PS3, and PC versions were like the main game, then you would just be like, oh, well, that's just how the game opens. But it is really funny because it's like this is work that like High Moon Studios did, or they contracted out to just like some studio that made just the CG cutscene, and that work is now going to a completely unrelated game that had nothing to do with it. It feels a little bit weird. But gameplay itself was actually pretty fun. I think there's like it's a rail shooter, so like you're having to like pop up from behind cover and aim with the Wiimote on the screen to shoot, and then pop back behind cover and reload and change your weapons. And there's like a lot of unique voice lines for for Steve Bloom doing the narration like he does in the console in the other the main version of War for Cybertron. There's a whole Steve Bloom narration that's unique to that, and then
Yep.
Megatron, whose name I still can't pronounce, Fred Tatasciore or whatever he pronounced his name, is still voicing Megatron. There's a lot of unique lines that we don't have for him in the other versions of the game, so it's surprisingly fun. Um, Other than that, I played a little bit of Wario Land Shake It because I'm a big fan of Wario,
Wow.
and I'm particularly a big fan of Wario Land 2, 3, and 4 on the Game Boy Color and GBA.
Can he get a new game besides WarioWare, please?
I would love for a new 2D side-scrolling Wario Land game like this because this game is fantastic. This game has anime graphics and cutscenes that are hand drawn by Production IG.
Really?
And so, like, Wario's sprite is not like a smooth 3D model. It's a 2D anime sprite made by Production IG, and it looks phenomenal.
Heck yeah.
This game also has the reappearance of the delightful Captain Syrup, the first time we've seen her since the original Mario Land 3 that she appeared in, and she is wonderful. Most underrated Mario princess, in my opinion.
Wait, she's a princess?
No, not technically, but I mean that's
okay.
my inside joke. I get to pretend like she is. And then that game is quite good. I'm looking forward to playing more of that. Played a bunch of other. That was it for the Wii U, and then I hooked up the PS3 and played some games on that, including the game based off of. This was the movie tie-in for Tron Legacy called Tron Evolution.
I heard of that one, yeah.
Have you seen Tron Legacy, the one from like 2011?
I haven't seen any of the Tron movies all the way down.
Okay. I do recommend them. All of them have problems. All of them are like a little bit flawed. They're all kind of niche cult movies, even the newest one.
Yeah.
But I do recommend them. And this game, quite good. I was quite surprised for like a cheap movie cash in. It has surprisingly very good gameplay. It is like if you combined, like if you combined Assassin's Creed, Mirror's Edge, and a character action game like Devil May Cry. It's very interesting the way that all the gameplay connects together. It has that kind of like parkour.
Yeah, I was about to say
and everything.
Character action, hack and slash plus parkour is what I'm hearing from this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting the way it's done, and it has like really, really high production quality with the cutscenes and the voice actor and anything. I'm pretty sure that Jeff Bridges, Kevin Flynn, is actually reprising his role in the game.
Heck yeah.
As well, which is pretty cool. And so that was pretty good. And then, but I have beaten 3 games since we last talked. So Michelle and I,
since MomoCon.
Yeah, Michelle and I have finally finished Mass Effect 3.
Heck yeah.
Meaning we have now gotten to the conclusion of one of the most iconic trilogies of games from the 7th generation, and I think one of the best new sci-fi settings to be made in the 21st century. Like as far as like new sci-fi that can coexist along with like the greats from like the 70s and 80s and everything.
Yeah.
This is one of the better new ones to have been made in the last several decades. I think from a world building standpoint and the lore and like the designs of all the aliens and everything and the story and the gameplay and everything, it was an awesome ride. I'm not going to say too much about it because Mass Effect is absolutely a recommendation for this show later on down the road, so I definitely want you to go in as unspoiled as possible. But if you like the idea of being your own Starfleet captain a la Star Trek and going on your own grand space adventures with your own ship and your own crew, and you get to call all the shots and give all the orders, you will absolutely love this series, especially the first game.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't it from like 1 to 2 or from 2 to 3, it carries over your save file and it remembers the decisions you made in the previous game?
Yes, absolutely. So it
More games should do that. That's
yeah,
ambitious, but that should be an option.
yeah, so a little bit about how that works. So BioWare historically never liked making sequels. They were very much like anti-sequel for the majority of their games. But when it came to Mass Effect was actually made from the ground up with the intention of it being a trilogy. So the story was to an extent kind of pre-planned out with a trilogy already in mind. So there is this like morality system, and there is the obviously create a character thing, like lots of Western RPGs, where you boot up the first game, you get to choose male or female, you get to choose an origin story, you get to customize your appearance.
Bed everybody.
Huh?
Bed everybody.
Yeah, and there's that you get to change your character class as well, and then you can, if you finish the first game, you get to import that character into 2, and you get to import that character into 3, and carry the same character over for the entire trilogy. And I think that is the best way of doing it, because if you start like 2, for example, without having played 1, it will just ask you about a bunch of decisions that are like really a lot more weighty in the moment when you get to make the decision in the game than you would just be like picking from a menu at the beginning of the second game. So it's definitely worth doing it as a whole trilogy run than to play one of the later games without playing the first one.
I feel like if we ever do get Knights of the Old Republic remake 1 and maybe 2, like have you played KOTOR 2?
I have not played KOTOR 2 yet.
Okay, well,
because I think I told you I have it on both the Xbox
like Switch
and on Steam, but I've been told to play it with a specific mod, like a restored
content mod. Yeah. Well, this isn't really spoilers too much, but like one of the things that happens when you start the game is you're playing as a different character. You're not playing as the protag from KOTOR 1. It is a new character. But when you are talking with some of the characters, like in the first mission and like shortly after the first mission, they're talking about some things that happened in the first game, and it will give you a couple dialogue options to where you can make it a direct sequel to your own playthrough. It's like, the protag from the previous game, he was awesome. That gives you the option to say, yeah, he was, or no, he was a bad person, or he was a woman. Like, you can do things like that. You can like map it out to your own personal, how you want KOTOR 1 to have happened in your KOTOR 2 playthrough. Although canonically,
similar, but
but it reminds me of that. That's just the closest thing I've played, so I'm drawing some equivalents. I was gonna say, if we ever do get a KOTOR 2 remake, just import the file from the first game, like give you that option, and just let the game run from there. I don't think it affects much in KOTOR 2. Like that doesn't, but it still would save you the time of having to go through and click everything on the menu, you know?
Yeah. The Mass Effect trilogy is, so I will say it is flawed, but it is flawed in some very interesting ways. So the ways in which it is flawed make it for very fun discussion, and I'm actually really looking forward to. I may do an entire spoiler cast with my friend that has played the whole trilogy pretty soon, but for your sake, try to go in as unspoiled as possible, because I had a bunch of stuff spoiled for me. Some of it was just by cultural osmosis of like the series has been around for 15 years, and knowing.
I did watch a game theory video way back when discussing the ending of the third game, but I have no context of how we got here. So it's the speculation was, did it actually happen? Did it not? Without saying, like, I don't even remember any of the major plot beats, other than I know who the main antagonists are, and I know, like, that's about it. And I know that the main character's name is Shepard, or I think the canonical name is Shepard, but you can like design them however you want, kind of deal.
Yeah, their last name is Shepard, and so everybody calls them Shepard, but you could pick a first name.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I don't pretty much next to nothing about it.
Yeah. So I was in a similar situation where I knew about the ending of 3 because it was extremely controversial.
Yeah.
So the endings for 3 were very underbaked when the vanilla version of Mass Effect 3 released on the Xbox 360 and PS3. So much so to where they actually had to release a free DLC with additional content for the endings to make them better. And the additional content does fix most of the problems with the ending, but each of the endings has flaws, and it was an interesting conversation between me and Michelle when we finished it. And like I said, I'm looking forward to having that discussion with our friend. But I we'll talk more about this when Mass Effect 1 becomes a game recommendation for you. I definitely think you're better off playing the Legendary Edition on PS4 or Steam than you are playing the vanilla Xbox 360 versions. So when that time comes, I'll probably gift you the trilogy on Steam, and that will be probably the preferred way of doing it. But yeah, either way, we had a great time. It was extremely memorable experience, and I think the first game does crack my like top 20 favorite games of all time. The first game of the 3 is my favorite. Not by much, but I do prefer the first game ever so slightly. There are some people where most people prefer the second game. The second game is very much an Empire Strikes Back situation, and for similar reasons. But I can't go into the first one over the second one without getting into like a really deep conversation about the gameplay. Right. So we'll just get to that when we get to that. But I do like the first game ever so slightly more than the 2 that follow it. Then I just beat as well Dragon Quest V on the DS.
I forgot I had visuals for these and I forgot to throw them up. Whoops.
That's totally fine. Actually, tell you what, if you wanna catch up with chat really quick, I'm gonna go get some more water. I will be right back.
Master Chief Snake says he's got to log out for the night. I'll thank you for stopping in, Chief, and I'll see you next time. Have a good night. And Sir Isaac dipped out a little while ago. Yeah, even though I got the physical copy of Eyes of Heaven, I couldn't use the DLC with it because it's the European version. So despite the game running on my PS4, because my account is a North American account, the DLC that came with it, yeah, I still got the paper right here, wouldn't work. So I did buy the digital copy because it was like $4 when it was on sale, and the digital copy does come with all the DLC. So I do have like Part 4 Jotaro and all them. I ended up giving the DLC to someone on Reddit. I just put up a post as like, hey, anybody want the DLC? I wanted the physical copy, so if you want the DLC here, just take it. Someone can use it. I do plan to play Eyes of Heaven soon, soon-ish. And I did hear that there was a leak that we might be getting an Eyes of Heaven R here soon, kind of like in the same way we got All-Star Battle R. Pretty much the only changes I think they would make, besides some DLC characters, would be all the characters would have their updated anime voice actors, because now we do have all of Part 5 and Part 6 have been animated, and Part 7 is in the progress of being animated. I think they said September 25th is when Part 7 returns, and then we're going to be getting weekly JoJo after that. So, looking forward to this. I actually want to do like a full JoJo, like, not every game retrospective, because I don't know how interested I'd be in the Super Famicom RPG game, but at least starting with Heritage for the Future on PS1, and then going up through Eyes of Heaven and All-Star Battle R, I definitely want to touch on these games at least, because, again, I played All-Star Battle R a bit. I haven't played the vanilla All-Star Battle yet, because I just now opened it, but it's got a different story mode, and it's got some, like, different character designs, because they're based on the manga, because it existed before the anime, etc. And I got that one for me and Rio to do a Fight Night Friday on, and I we're gonna do this one as well, but it's a little bit awkward because we're going to play from 2 different consoles. So because it doesn't have like split screen multiplayer, so it's just gonna have to be one of those things of where we're playing on 2 different consoles, recording both at once, and then kind of splice it together, kind of could do with Dissidia. But if we do end up getting an Eyes of Heaven R, I definitely want to take a look at that when we get the chance. And it's a good thing that I gave that person on Reddit the DLC when I did, because the DLC expired January of this year. I mean, DLC code was good for 10 years, though, but yeah, expired January 7th of 2026. Sucks for anyone else who didn't get to download it before then. While you were gone, I was just telling the whoever's watching the VOD or whoever might still be in chat about a little bit about Eyes of Heaven and some future game plans and all that.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was like,
nah, you're good.
I was stuck to my seat trying to get up. I'm so damn sweaty, so
yeah,
I think it was a good idea.
But get yourself one of these.
Yeah, I have it's a 33-ounce bottle that I refilled, but yeah, that is a good idea.
Get yourself some
Dragon Quest V.
Get yourself some My Melody Taro Boba Tea.
Yeah. I have some ginger beer in the fridge. I could get.
I got some hot sauce.
Yeah. So Dragon Quest V. I started my save file for this game in like 2019, 2020. And like just now got around to finishing it this year. I kept putting it off, and the reason being is I couldn't really play it casually at my own pace because I had to follow a guide for it very strictly, or else it's an old RPG. The original version of it on the Super Famicom released in like 1992, so technically this game is older than I am, even though this is the DS remake that came out in like 2010 or something like that, it's still very old school, and it does not hold your hand at all. It doesn't really tell you where to go very well, and there are a lot of things that are missable. There are strategies and build-arounds for how you grow your characters that if you don't like commit to them early enough, you will be like super underpowered for stuff later in the game. So I was following the Let's Play from H.C. Bailey. I shouted him out in the Dragon Quest Heroes video, and his Let's Plays have kind of single-handedly let me finish a lot of older RPGs from that era.
Heck yeah!
And so in order to really play the game, I had to be like sitting down here at the computer with the DS in my hand, looking up at the Let's Play on the screen to really like make any progress, and that was a very specific thing I had to commit time to doing. So I would do it a couple of times per year from starting the game, and finally was like, I'm gonna commit to finishing it, because I was like 2/3 of the way through it, and I was like, I have to fucking finish this game so I can move on to some other RPGs. And I was on a little bit of a Dragon Quest kick after the Dragon Quest Heroes video, so I was still in the mood to keep playing the series. And I guess, what do I think of Dragon Quest V? It was great. I loved it a lot. I don't think it was quite as good as, but both games are in the fact that you start out at the beginning of the game. It is very, very basic RPG mechanics. It might be like your hero character and like one other recruited party member just like mashing the attack button on slimes until you win, kind of thing. Not a whole lot of strategy in the gameplay there. But then contrast that with the last act of the game, and you are balancing like buffs and debuffs and characters that have unique abilities, and managing like resistances to different elements and changing your equipment around, and watching to see when the boss dispels your buffs so you can reestablish them, and like it becomes like much more tactical gameplay towards the end. And the final boss was extremely interesting in how tactical it was. And I think that the last act of Dragon Quest 4 and 5 is like the JRPG experience, like distilled into its purest form. And surprisingly enough, it's the kind of formula that Pokemon copies a lot from. There is so much that Pokemon copies from Dragon Quest. It's unbelievable. So, again, status elements working the way they do, buffs and debuffs working the way that they do. Um, the are you familiar with the but thou must situation?
I don't think so.
So, you ever notice in an RPG or any game when a character gives you a yes or no option, but if you pick the no option, they just ask the question again until you pick yes?
Every game ever, yes.
So that, I don't know if it necessarily originally originated in Dragon Quest, but it's most famous for the but thou must situation in Dragon Quest 1.
The phrase, that makes it funnier. But it's not, but you have to, it's but thou must.
Yeah, it's specifically the princess of it's specifically Princess Gwaelin being like, oh, I know you've rescued me and slain the Dragon Lord, but would you mind if I went with you on your adventures? And if you're like, no, she's like, but thou must until you say yes. Which is just a the game is right. There is only one correct answer there. You're not gonna not take the princess with you. So
yeah, we've seen Voltron. We know how this goes.
Yeah. So yeah, Pokemon does it all the time with, or mostly in the early gens with the but thou must situation where it's like they're like, have you heard of this? Yes, no, and it's like if you say no, you're like, ah, come on, you must be kidding with me. Have you heard of this? Do you have to pick yes?
Yeah.
Even monster capturing technically originated in Dragon Quest V, years before Pokemon was a thing. I know there's other,
Nintendo's
like,
over here trying to patent it.
Well,
for shame!
You didn't throw a ball at them in Dragon Quest V. It's actually
you threw hands.
You just beat them, and then they're like, hey, what if? And you're like, okay, and it's. I wouldn't say it's a mechanic that's done particularly well in Dragon Quest V because it is. They don't really tell you which monsters are recruitable. They don't really tell you the criteria for recruiting them. Sometimes you have to be like a significantly higher level than them in order to get them, and you can also like waste a lot of time trying to recruit a monster only to find out later that it's not very good. So the approach for the Let's Play was there was basically one monster companion that carried most of the game, and the rest of the cast was named human party members. He is a slime, which may have caught stuff. That rides on top of it and bounces up and down.
Hold on a second. I don't know if it's a problem on my end or if it's Discord or my connection or whatever, but you froze for a minute and I lost like 5 seconds of audio.
Whoops.
Last thing I heard was the rest of your party is named humans, and then it kind of got glitchy for a second.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now, yeah.
Okay, I was saying that the only monster... there's one monster that carried me throughout the party, and it was a Slime Knight. You may have seen this guy in the Dragon Quest Heroes video, so it's a little green slime with a little tiny knight guy riding on top of it. And he's pretty good. He had a lot of good abilities. He had self-healing, which was great. He was actually a dedicated healer for one of the boss fights.
That time I got reincarnated as a Slime Knight.
Yeah, one of their main, and like the sprite work in the DS remake trilogy for Dragon Quest is so fucking good.
It's sprites,
like,
you say?
So if there is a enemy monster, every individual limb of the sprite is animated separately. So you have these like incredibly smooth, incredibly dynamic animations for all of the monsters.
Project Cross Zone up in here.
Incredible.
Project Cross Zone did the same thing. I'm sure some other games did around that time too, but that's the one that I know because I used to make custom sprites, especially if they're like Mega Man related. So for Project Cross Zone, it would be like, take Mega Man X. You have his body, as one. You have his head as a bunch of different ones, and the limbs are all different. And I think they like put them on a frame and they puppet them, and then they tell it when to trigger specific animations. But they're all individual pieces instead of just solid chunk. And the arms move, but it's one chunk. It's like each one is its own segment, and it does allow for much smoother and more beautiful animations. Yeah.
Yeah, like
I love sprite games.
They're so lively and expressive. It's like it's really cool, and I may show you some gameplay of this just so you get the idea. But like in Dragon Quest IV, for example, there is a boss that is like uh, a like eight-legged lion creature where it's like it's got its four legs that it stands on, and then it has two other sets of big claws that come out this way. And so like each of those claws are like doing this number as it's just idle animation, and then when it swipes, it's like claws this way and that way. Kind of it was also in the video. The Marquis de Leon, um, and but the Slime Knight, his regular idle animation, he's bouncing up and down on the slime,
Yeah.
and he'll do a little sword swing when he attacks. But his crit animation is the knight gets up off the slime and beats the enemy with the slime. It's so funny.
How does a slime hurt more than a sword? It's squishy. How does that work?
Yeah, he's just a little guy.
I'm gonna beat a motherfucker with another motherfucker.
Yeah. So the story for Dragon Quest V is it's something. Like like when I put the game away to like so I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm putting it back in the case. It's going back in the collection. I'm closing this chapter forever, kind of thing. I looked back at the case, and it's rated E10, and I'm like, are y'all sure about that? Because this story had some shit in it. Like, holy crap! So,
them kids gotta learn when they're young.
You know how some games or anime will have like a time skip where the characters will get older?
Yeah.
So this game has 2 time skips. So it technically has 3 separate generations for the main character. So you start out in the game with the character being like a 6-year-old or something, like just a tiny little kid.
Yeah.
And it's really funny because he's at level 1 and he can't hit for shit, but your dad is in your party. And so when you get into a random encounter, your dad will like block attacks for you, and he'll kill all the enemies, and you're like, yay, my dad's really strong, and
yeah,
being a little kid and everything. And there's times where like you'll go to like read a sign in a town from like a shop or something, and the game will just be like, you can't read the sign because you're 6. You don't know how to read. And I'm like, that's so fucking funny.
That sign won't stop me because I can't read it.
Exactly. And you have a little you have a wild saber cat as your companion. It's just a little cub this big, and but you end up going through some dungeon with your dad, and your dad is trying to like stop this archmage from doing something evil, and the archmage kills your dad right in front of you. And I'm like, holy shit, that's like a fucked up thing for this poor little 6-year-old.
Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles all over again.
And then it gets worse from there. You get put into a like internment camp base. It's sold into child slavery, and you spend like all of your childhood and some of your teenage years in slavery. And that cuts to the next generation of game when you're like in your teenage years, and you befriend another kid that's a slave there in this like in this monster enslavement internment camp thing, and you befriend this other kid. You find out that this kid is a prince, and so you team up with him and you break out, and you basically gain the favor of this prince because you saved him and got him back to his family and everything. And now you're like, I'm out, I'm gonna go have my own adventure. I'm gonna try to get revenge on the archmage that killed my dad. I'm gonna try to find my mom, and in doing so, you like crazy stuff happens. your influence with the prince gets you an appointment with this other king, and like your childhood friend lives in that town, and you can get married to her, or you can go marry the like mayor's daughter or whatever, and whichever one you pick, you get to have kids with, and that creates the third generation of the story where you literally become the king of this one town. Like literally, they're like you work your way up through the ranks and become the king, marry your high school sweetheart, and have two babies, who have her hair color, and then uh, some other villain attacks. You and your wife get turned to stone, and your kids disappear. Luckily, your kids are in the safe care of um, your uncle, who is a like just sweet old guy who was friends with your dad or whatever. And then the third generation, another time skip where you spent like almost a decade trapped in stone. And so you get broken out of the stone statue and your kids are grown. Your kids are like 10-year-olds. And you're like, oh my God, I missed my kid's entire childhood. What happened? And, but it's still like really endearing because you're like, um, my, my, uh, my chungus failure of a son and my sweet baby precious daughter come here. And I bullied my son so much in this game.
Oh
And
no.
because the funny thing is, you're told that your son is going to be the next like legendary hero, and your son is the only one who can equip the Zenithian equipment, which was the equipment of the armor and the sword and everything of the legendary hero from Dragon Quest IV. So, which is weird because it's like, okay, is it in my bloodline? Wouldn't I be like also qualified to win this? No, it's got to be your son. So
Yeah, this is
maybe it's his mother that's
this is secretly JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, where it skips one generation and goes to the next one. So it won't be your kid; it's your
yeah,
grandkid.
yeah, pretty much. But if you watch the Dragon Quest Heroes video, it's Nera and Bianca, the blonde girl with the braid and the bow, and the blue haired girl with the magic orb. Those are your two brides in Dragon Quest V. And there's actually
Right.
a third one that was added for the DS version, but she's like hard to fully utilize well in gameplay, so I didn't really even consider her. But it's cool that she's there. Um, but once you get to the third generation and you get your chosen bride and your kids back, and you have it's the four party members of you, your wife, and your kids, and those are the four human party members. Now is when shit gets good, because then is when you had to do a lot of level grinding to get your kids and your wife up to a good fightable level.
Yeah.
And once you do, the gameplay like really opens up, and that's like I said, where you have like really tactical stuff. There's like um, managing the MP of all your party members, because like I think it was my daughter that had the most powerful offensive magic spell for the final boss, and so every round was like um, establish a buff, heal everybody, burn the boss to the ground, and like
Yep.
repeat
Yep.
until she was running out of MP. And I'm like, oh no, I did not put an MP restorative item in her inventory. Uh, run out of him, and the boss healing itself, and I'm like, fuck, I think this might be unwinnable. I might lose this. And I swap her out for this random golem enemy that I
Right.
recruited as a monster companion. Because he had like 400 health or something crazy like that, which is a lot in this game.
If nothing else, he could be a
I
damage
don't know
sponge
if
for a little bit.
Exactly. So you probably saw the golems in the Dragon Quest Heroes video. They're like the tall guys made out of bricks and rocks
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
everything. And I bring him in, and he's just chipping away at the boss. And I did kill the boss on the first try, which was awesome. But really cool. Some of the most iconic Akira Toriyama designs in this one.
Yeah.
The final boss looks like a weird combination of like Frieza and Cell. It's really interesting, and he speaks in like weird, you know how like in in like the Russian alphabet, there are characters that look like English letters but are not.
Yeah.
There's there's a character they have that looks like an A, but it's not an A.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, um, the way they to make the final boss's dialect sound as alien as possible, they like spelled out English words using those characters.
And
It's really interesting to read.
I know which Cyrillic character you're talking about. I don't know how it's pronounced, but it's like in German, there is a character that looks like our letter B, but it makes the sound sh. Like,
Yeah.
that's the sound it makes. So I get the idea. It's like, so you're reading the words, but you're like, if I actually pronounce this, huh?
Yeah, that was basically their way of being like, he's supposed to sound so otherworldly that it's outside of your comprehension kind of
Right.
thing. But also, as you no doubt heard in the Dragon Quest Heroes video, the localization team for these games sure does love their accents, and it's very charming, especially when it's like written phonetically in the dialogue and everything.
Yeah.
Fantastic music in this game as well, in spite of it being made by the War Crimes Denier. We don't talk about that. And I love that the final piece of music that they play in the credits is the song that plays during your wedding, which is really cute. So it's like the song that you and your bride to be dance to is what you get played out to in the credits. I was like, that was nice. That was really sweet. I had a really good time with that.
We've had one, yes. What about second Happily Ever After?
Yeah, exactly. No more time skips. We've had enough. 3 years plenty. I don't need to now play as my Chungus son and see what it would be like to be a grandparent.
Boruto, the next generation.
But Boruto's dad's grandson. But Dragon Quest V is very, very, very beloved in Japan. It is one of the fan favorite games. There was I think it was a direct to Netflix, like CGI meets live action movie called Dragon Quest Your Story, and it is basically a isekai retelling of 5, where like a person from the real world gets isekai'd into Dragon Quest and become the Dragon Quest V protag. It's really weird.
Kind of related, slightly off topic. Did you ever watch the Fire Emblem OVAs?
So I've watched them on YouTube.
Yeah.
But someone we know in our cosplay group owns a VHS of the Fire Emblem OVA.
Awesome.
Yeah. I would love to watch the entire thing, but most of it is just people complaining about the dub being bad and of its time, yeah. But from what I understand, it's meant to be like I think it's meant to be an adaptation of Mystery of the Emblem, if I'm not mistaken, which is the
Roy, right?
third game, which is partially a remake of the first game.
That's Blazing Blade, my bad. Or is Roy Binding Blade? It's one of the two. It's one of the Blade games.
Some of the GBA ones?
Yeah.
Yeah. This was Super Famicom.
Yeah, because it was like 90s era, yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen like a couple screenshots of it, and the animation looks fantastic. It looks like right.
Yeah, it's very of the time. I would love to own a physical copy of it, but not a super high priority.
Right.
But the puns in this game are also phenomenal. So I used a couple of these in the Dragon Quest Heroes video.
Your compilation, like you're sitting there with like the proper accent, just going down the lists.
Yeah, Dr. Aegon is in Dragon Quest V. Same thing with none of the above. The giant like mountain-sized super boss that showed up briefly in Heroes, Bjorn the Behemoth. He is a required fight in Dragon Quest V. He's probably the hardest fight in the game, even though he is the fight that basically leads into Act 3. He's not the final boss by any means.
Right.
But he talks in a really, really goofy way. And when you beat him as part of the story, and then there's another super boss you can beat after beating the final boss. And if you beat that super boss, you can go recruit a tiny version of Bjorn the Behemoth as a monster companion. And his name is Bjorn. And the way he talks is so funny. Actually,
wait. Because he's a moose, did they make him Canadian?
No, he's he's also like weirdly Russian.
With a name like Bjorn, I would have imagined that would have been a little more Scandinavian, wouldn't it? Like,
let me.
I don't know my geography.
Actually, you'll be the judge of what the fuck he's saying. Where did I post this? Maybe it is a Scandinavian. I don't know what they're doing. Like his lines in this is no, it's okay. I don't know. I'm gonna sound like an idiot here, but I'm gonna send you this.
All right.
I'm gonna post it in
general.
Actually, if I Facebook it to you, can you just open on your phone without messing up the chat? Would that be easier?
Yeah.
So this is the dialogue for when you recruit Bjorn. Maybe it is like a Scandinavian thing. Now listen. This game takes itself very fucking seriously.
Why am I talking to the Swedish chef?
Look at his dumb face. His tiny little face.
Why are there
3 eyes?
Why are there skeletons in the background?
So he's like an ancient god that's been like sealed down here, and so like that like urn thing in the center of the room is the thing that his spirit has been trapped in until you have to fight him at the end of Act 2. So this is like a crypt that he's in, and you go back down there, you're like, sup, I know we kicked your ass when you were like 200 feet tall. You want to be a little guy and run around with us? And he's like, sure. He's really strong. There's nothing good to use him on anymore because you've beaten the game, but he has some of those powerful attacks in the game.
And then what they said to Altera at the end of Fading Stella.
Yeah. So that would be a funny. Well, I won't ruin that moment. So
I've watched your video. I know how the basic story ends, but I don't remember exactly all the dialogue choices.
But yeah,
that's gonna keep me laughing for a little bit.
I do recommend Dragon Quest, any of them. I think if you want to play any of them, I would definitely recommend getting 11 on Steam. Perhaps it's half off right now, not sponsored.
That's the new one, right?
It's the newest mainline one, and it is excellent. It has a lot of great. It has all of the best things that. It has all the best things the series has going for it, but with none of the like really old school jank. So it's a great way to get in the series if you like the visual style, the music, the sense of humor, the kind of more jokey, lighthearted story, less melodrama than Final Fantasy kind of thing.
Yeah.
With again like really, really, really solid RPG fundamentals, like really, really strategic gameplay that doesn't punish you for not understanding like a really complex system. Definitely recommend that game for getting into the series. And then the last thing I played before we call it a night here was I'm continuing my entire franchise playthrough of the original Doom, and I'm playing all the officially released campaigns that are part of the complete Doom 1 and 2 complete collection on the Kex engine, the current console port. So a little bit complicated, but the ports of Doom and Doom 2 that are available on Steam, Switch, Xbox One, PS4, etc. There's two different versions. There's the ones that came out in 2019 to coincide with Doom Eternal. Um, those are on Unity, and they run fine. Everything. It does have the stupid Bethesda account login thing you have to do at the beginning, which people don't like for good reason. But they look great. They run great. Doom 3 is part of that collection as well. And then as part of the what was the occasion? Why did they do this? It was like one random QuakeCon last year or the year before. Um, they were like, here is the ultimate Doom Classic collection for consoles and for Steam. And this time we ported it to the Kex engine, which is the engine made by Night Dive that powers the Quake remaster, the Star Wars Dark Forces remaster, etc. So it's their kind of in-house engine that has just worked magic on all these retro shooters, and so it's no longer on Unity, it's on the Kex engine. Looks and plays completely identical. You would never know the difference, but that version includes Doom 1, Doom 2, Doom 2 Master Levels, the two Final Doom expansions, which is the Plutonia Experiment and TNT Evolution. It includes No Rest of the Living, which was first released in like 2011 with Doom 3 BFG. It includes Sigil, which was made by John Romero in like 2019, 2020, something like that. Sigil 2, which was released like 2023, 2024. And then a final expansion made for this collection called Legacy of Rust. And so that's everything I have to go through. So this is like hundreds of levels of Doom. This is a lot of content to get through. And so far I've now done all of Doom 1, all of Doom 2, and all of Doom 2 Master Levels. I did not realize this because I've played Master Levels before on the original Xbox version of the Doom 3 Collector's Edition on that port.
Yeah.
But I realized I probably did not play every Master Level because there's some stuff in here that I genuinely did not remember. And the Master Levels are kind of controversial. So Doom 2 is already much, much, much harder than Doom 1. And then when you get to Final Doom, you get like Plutonia, which is one of the most insanely ball-bustingly hard things ever, where the designers of Plutonia were so insane that Valve offered them a job and they got to help make Half-Life.
Oh.
So
heck yeah.
But the Doom 2 Master Levels range in quality significantly. So some of them are pretty normal Doom 2 levels with some really fun and clever ingenuity with how the level geometry is done and where things are placed. And some of them are absolutely diabolical. Some of them are just like new forms of torture banned by the Geneva Convention. So there's one level that's particularly infamous, and luckily I found this out before I got particularly frustrated. But there is a key, which of course are required for finishing levels, hidden inside of a secret.
Okay.
Should a Doom level, because the secrets are not required content, whereas the keys are. So there were a lot of people who were like, this level sucks because you can't finish it without finding everything or without a guide, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there is a level called the Black Tower, which might be one of the most evil fucking things put in the Doom engine that I've played so far. That I was probably on that level for like an entire day just trying to finish that one level. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of enemies in that level. It looks unassuming at first, and then you get into it, and it's like every time you so much as set one foot past a new objective, it just respawns like whole new hordes of different enemies behind stuff, and like there's a spiral staircase that goes up the center, and there's enemies at all elevations trying to attack you. Oh, and Michelle got to see the other like really devious level towards the end where it's this it is like it's meant to be like a prison, and it's an elevator that goes up and down the center of this level, and each floor goes out into a different direction,
Yeah.
and um, the elevator spins on its way down, and there's like enemies shooting at you from every single direction down this like, and again, it's just like simulated torture. I need to find out what that level is called, but yeah, that fucking elevator is infamous.
You said we need to bring Dante back from the dead to write a new level of hell. I think he already did.
Yeah. And thy flesh consumed indeed. But yeah. So the Doom 2 master levels, I guess I do recommend them because they are kind of just like the added bonus for Doom 2. But definitely don't start a playthrough of master levels right after getting done with vanilla Doom 2 because you will burn out really quick. It was like late last year when I did my Doom 2 run, and I didn't start master levels until pretty much right now because I needed a break, and I probably will take yet another break before I start on Final Doom because I've never beaten Plutonia before, and I'm scared. I don't know about this. This is already the first level of Plutonia lets you know how ape shit crazy it is. So we'll see how that goes.
I believe in you. You got this.
But yeah, on that note, that is all I got.
I think that's all I got too. I don't really. I guess I could go over the Flame Pole Mark. I don't really have too much to say about it because, as you've played Fate Stella before, you know that they don't really tip their hand too much in terms of like all the lore and all that until you actually get to like the end of the first arc and the second and third ones. This is like, if you just play the Flame Pole Mark, you're not getting like even a tenth of the story. I wouldn't say, because
yeah, it's you get the basic premise with the regalia being split into 3 parts.
Right.
You're introduced to Altera. You get a lot of the like fan service personal time with Nero, which is fun.
I didn't care about it because I don't like Nero.
People are very split on Nero. That you either have like, really there is no in between. Like there's very few people I know that are indifferent to Nero. People either like are Nero fanatics or they hate Nero.
So, my stance is I really hate Nero because it's like, one, she stole Artoria's face, and Artoria is my favorite waifu. 2, I don't like who Nero Claudius was historically, so it's just double. And I'm like, no, out of here. And she's like, oh, my beloved Praetor. I'm like, get out of here, leave.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go hang out with Archer.
It is pretty unambiguous that like Altera is best girl in that game, because Tamamo is also super problematic for reasons I talked about in the video. Yeah, we do get Elizabeth Bathory being an absolute little shit in this route. And
absolute menace. Like, completely destroys the regalia, and I'm like, so, I know the Flame Pole Mark ends with the Master incapacitated and Nero waiting for them to wake up, and Titan Altera has been defeated, and there's time loop shenanigans, if I remember correctly, but I don't...
you'll get there.
I haven't started the Tamamo route yet. Even back in the day when I first ran this game, like a decade ago, I know I couldn't trust Archimedes as far as I could throw him. Like, that design, I'm like, nope, absolutely not. Like, I could tell by looking at... I see your left arm, even though you're trying to hide it. I could tell you're going to betray me at some point. Like, there ain't no way.
Yeah, he's too smug.
Yeah. Very first thing I did was, as soon as I was able to, I unlocked Artoria and did her side missions. And they pretty much confirmed she could have soloed the entire Moon Cell, but because she's not a main character of Extra, they had to sideline her and let the others take care of it.
Yeah, she's pretty much just there for fan service.
Yeah. The good
They kind of hand wave that away by being like, she was late to any of the relevant events of the story.
Solo's Gilgamesh and Iskandar, so she gets revenge for the king's banquet. I'm here for it.
Yeah, which is fantastic. But yeah, no, the Flame Pump arc ends with a bad end.
Yep.
It is a visual novel bad end to the T. It's also very, very Fate Stay Night in the way that the bad end kind of plays out, where it's like this really, it's like the more you think about it, the more fucked up it is in terms of how bleak that ending is. Because you're just like, this person is basically a vegetable. They are all but dead. And Nero is just kind of helplessly like, oh well, she'll come back any day now. I just gotta wait it out. I'll be right here.
It's the canon ending to Heaven's Feel. It's Sakura waiting for Shiro to come home.
Sort of, yeah. The true ending versus good ending.
Yeah.
So, I guess on that note, are you playing as male Hakuno or female Hakuno?
I'm playing as male just because that was the default.
Okay. I will say that to the extent that it is like a weird harem story where like it's these characters constantly fawning over you, I don't know a way to say this other than that aspect just isn't as distracting when it's the female Hakuno.
Yeah,
and
fair.
maybe that's like a weird male gaze thing, but like the vast majority of people that play the extra games prefer the female protagonist, and they're just like, yeah, the weird harem stuff just doesn't feel as weird when it's the girl, and I don't know what is. Maybe there's something problematic in me thinking that, but I just, you know what I mean?
I think it's funny how the Fate Extra anime spins it to where it's like Hakuno in Fate Extra Last Encore is actually a reincarnation to where at the start we see Nero defeated and we see the female Hakuno, but when we pick up with the story proper, it's male Hakuno. Which the reincarnation thing kind of makes sense because it's all inside a computer. It's inside the moon cell. So that kind of thing isn't as outlandish as if it was in the real world, you know? Not as many leaps of logic are required for it to just kind of happen.
I still think they shouldn't have done it. It should have always been the female protagonist in the anime as well, but the Last Encore has a bunch of other problems.
I'm about to say, Last Encore needs a complete overhaul. That one put me to sleep. I fell asleep during the battle sequences. How do you do that? It's a Fate work. You also don't even give us the Karna fight.
Yeah.
Like,
or the Kulubu one.
Right? Like,
which I think is a massive
I'm pretty
atrocity.
Sure that's one we saw silhouettes of, but didn't get to see the full actual fight. And I'm just like, man, I will decry Prisma Elia to my dying breath, but at least that one didn't put me to sleep.
Yeah.
Like, Last Encore is, it's up there for, which one do I think is worse. Subject matter-wise, Prelia is worse, no questions. But in terms of production and just how watchable is it, Last Encore is garbage. And this is coming from someone who's not even a Fate Extra fan. Even Fate Extra fans really hate it for how bosh of an adaptation it was. Like Maestro, our shared friend, Assassin, he really doesn't like Last Encore. But that's because he's a Tamamo fan. Yeah. Tamamo's nowhere to be found.
Right.
Of course, the joke that I like to make about it is that in Last Encore, Nero's got beef with Buddha. And I'm like, no, Nero didn't have anything against Buddha. Nero had things against Jesus.
Right.
That's the joke that I like to make.
Yeah, I guess when you're going into the Orchard Worlds arc, try not to bounce off too hard on Tamamo. Because I'm pretty sure you've gotten to the point where you've played as her gameplay wise before. She is very, very, very different from the other two Saber class main characters.
Yeah.
Just bear with it. Just try to learn how she plays and try to get through it. I do think that her route is the lowest point of the game, but too many people bounce off at the beginning of her route because they don't like the way she plays and they don't get to the good half of the game.
I don't think that's going to be a problem because as long as I got my codecast and I could swap servants, that doesn't matter. Like, once I got the one where I could switch to Archer, I barely touched Nero again. I only played as her when I had to. like if the game forced me to, or if like her AOE attacks happen to be better and I didn't have the Noble Phantasm charged.
Yeah.
I prefer to play as Archer.
Yeah, I tended to not use the servant swap code cast in the main campaign, because, I mean, honestly, when you get used to it, playing as Nero is one of the most efficient characters to play as. Even if you don't like her personality, she plays very fun, and she has a lot of very efficient combos. So she is a good character from a practical standpoint.
I'll absolutely agree on that point. Archer had one major problem to where one of his combos, he would literally just stand still as swords popped up out of the ground, and then he continued the combo. It was like a full 3-second pause, and breaks it up just a little bit. I like the rest of your combos except that one, but that one is efficient because it requires just a couple button taps, and your enemies are at the perfect range for it. Nero flows way more smoothly, and she's got better zoning. Is that the right word? I think that's the word they use in fighting games, where it's pretty much you control exactly where your attacks are going to be. Nero is very competent and smooth in that regard. But
especially when you get to higher levels, because when you get to Nero's, I think it's her 7th and 8th hit combo finishers. The 7th one is that beam blade that comes out of her sword that just clean sweeps every enemy in front of you, and then the 8th one is just she does this very quick and flashy, just slam down on the ground, and it's a big explosion, and it's those moves just make her really, really effective to play as.
Yeah, I was one thing I said this before we started streaming. A lot of the skills here are transferable between Dynasty Warriors Gundam and Fate Extella. The only problem I'm having is that in between the two games, the dash and jump buttons are swapped. So if I come off the heels of playing one, it's in Dynasty Warriors Gundam, to kind of play with a lot of the other Gundam games at the time, X on the PlayStation controller is the booster button, which makes you dash forward. No, that breaks things too, because in the other games, you jump with your jetpack, but it can be used as a directional dash, depending on the game.
Yeah.
But in Dynasty Warriors Gundam, X is your dash button with your boosters, and R1 is your hover button, is your jump. Whereas in Fate Extella, R1 is your dash, and X is jump. So it swaps. So if I come off the heels of playing one to try to play the other one, it throws me off for a couple minutes before I get accustomed to it. But I did notice that I could cheese most bosses by just doing a ground pound attack, jump and then press triangle and you just slam. It's not quite a stun lock, but you can just kind of keep smacking enemies and they have a hard time blocking it. So most servant battles, if I didn't have a Noble Phantasm or Extella Gauge or the what's it called? The circle, the stab, and then the multi-combo that hits everything.
Yeah, the Excel maneuver.
That's the Excel maneuver. Moon Crux is the transformation. Moon Drive, yeah. If I didn't have one of those ready, just jumping and ground pounding pretty much made a lot of servants trivial. Maybe it's just because I'm still in the early game. But the only one who really gave me any trouble 1v1 was Iskandar, just because of how tanky he is. Even Lubu wasn't really that much of a challenge. But gameplay-wise, I do think it's really fun, and I do think I'll get more invested in the story as we go on, because again, Nero is my least favorite out of the three that we're presented with, and I just really don't care about her. Anything that she has to say to me, I'm just go away. I know Artoria is hiding somewhere, just bring her in.
Yeah, if anything, the Hakuno's writing makes up for it, because the localization team did a fantastic job, and the first-person narration dialogue, I think, is really well written and fun to read.
Yeah.
And I think the overarching plot is good as well. It's going to be a little bit harder to be invested in this story if you dislike Nero, because she is such a big part of it, even in the fourth route. Because again, in the fourth route, as you know from my video, you loop back around to being Nero's servant again.
Yeah.
So even when it's time to course correct the timeline and everything, you are still going to have to be Nero's ride or die, even though you get your gay polycule and your adopted daughter at the end.
I still think that like, maybe not, because I think Altera was actually made for Fate Grand Order and then brought into Fate Extella, but I always like to think that because each Hakuno is color-coded based on what the fragment is, like, one is red, one is blue, one is green, the Sword of Mars is also tricolored. Is there a connection there, or is that just a coincidence?
I think it's just more of an aesthetic symmetry thing.
Yeah.
But because I think also the I have to watch the opening cinematic again, but I think when it shows the fragment breaking off of the
Velber
Umbral Star itself, it has like a tricolor thing going on. I think it's just an aesthetic symmetry thing, but
right.
It is even if Altera was made for Grand Order first, she's very much so the star of this game as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Pun intended.
Yeah.
Heyo.
The Umbral Star of this game. Oh.
No, that's pretty much
all. On that bombshell, it's time to win.
That's pretty much all I got to say about Fate Extella at this point. Hopefully later this month I will have time to actually beat at least the next arc. And I have not forgotten about this one. I just have not had time to start on Bayonetta or Vanquish yet. But
yeah,
I got Butterfingers. I do have a filming project I gotta do like the last weekend of the month. But in between now and then, I do plan to get some more gaming time in and try to at least start on. I think I want to start with Bayonetta because that one's been on the list for a long time. So I'm gonna do my best to get started on that and have finished at least the second round of Fate Extella.
That works.
Yes.
I will try to watch some more of
Beast Wars.
Beast Wars, and then I'm gonna hold off on the next media recommendation for you until some of these are cleaned up, and we'll get to it when we get to it.
Right. That said, you just finished one RPG. Do you think you could potentially take on another in the meantime?
Depends on what it is, because I'm playing. I started the Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD remaster on the Switch.
All right.
And I've put a couple hours in Dragon Quest 1. I'm getting kind of addicted to it, but it is also very, very hard compared to the original NES version. Well, it's easier in terms they've added a ton of quality of life features, but harder because they've added a lot more like mandatory boss fights that are more mechanically complex. So
makes sense.
But yeah, if you have a recommendation as an RPG, I would be interested in hearing it.
All right. If you already got 2 on your plate right now, do you want me to wait till next time?
Let me see. Now let's go for it. Let's see what it is.
All right. How would you feel about trying to play MS Saga: A New Dawn?
What systems is it on?
PlayStation 2.
Okay. Would you be mailing me a copy of it to play, or how would that work?
I could let you borrow my copy, yeah, because I've gotten pretty much all the footage I need from the Let's Play that Rio and I did, and that is a video script that has been in the background for a while that I need to get back on writing anyway, so we could have a little crossover and some discussion while I'm producing the video.
Okay. Let me get back to you on that. Let me think about it, and then because if there is an easier way, I'll go that route. But if you mailing me your copy to borrow might be the only way to do that. Yeah. If I can't think of another way, but yeah, that would be interesting for sure.
Heck yeah. I will say, like, I want your opinion as someone who is more well-versed in JRPGs than I am. I will say up front, it's not that mechanically complex. It is kind of bare bones, but there is a little bit of a charm in that. Or maybe I'm just blind because I'm a Gunman fan. But I like your input as someone who has played a lot of JRPGs.
Yeah, no, sometimes games can get completely overwhelming with mechanical complexity, so sometimes it is fine to have something that's more simple.
Yeah. There's definitely strategy involved with it, but I've got a lot to say about it, but again, I am actually working on a full video for that in the back burner. I've started on the script, I just kind of put it down for a little bit because I got distracted by a lot of other things. But I've been wanting to
Gotcha.
I've been wanting to pick it back up and go with it because again, it took Rio and I 5 years to finish this thing. We started it pre-COVID and then we finished it in like 2023. Like just a lot of stuff happened in the real world in between the time of us starting it and then actually finishing it.
Yeah.
That's including the post game too. So.
Okay. Well, let me do some research on it and see, because like I've been trying to figure out how to get RetroArch to work on my Steam Deck for emulation.
I think Rio and I.
It's a little bit out.
Either Rio or I could help with that. It's once it's set up, it runs incredibly easily, incredibly smoothly. I just don't remember how we set it up at first because it's one of those where he basically took care of any customization that needed doing on it, and then he just handed it off to me like ready to go. So once you get it set up, it's like really easy to work with, for the most part.
Yeah, once I figure that out, or I'll take another crack at figuring that out, and that might be our solution. But let me think about it, and we'll figure it out.
Heck yeah.
All right, folks, that is about all the time we have for this episode, but we appreciate you watching as always, and we will see you next time.
All right. Hope you all have a good night, everybody. See you next month.